The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, good morning. Welcome in Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliott Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here as we are off and rolling here on a Thursday. The week flying by. We have a ton to get into here today. Gentlemen, good morning. How are all of you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Phenomenal.
I like the blue shirt. You
Thank
had
you.
a
Like
black
the blue
on
shirt?
khaki run comes to an end.
Yeah, well, I like the black shirts. Everybody knows this, but we'll go blue today as we wash all the black shirts. So black shirts will be back tomorrow.
Laundry day in the.
That's right. After we get those taken care of, they'll be right back. But yeah, today's a great day. Thursday means it's almost the weekend, which is I really do believe Thursday I think is the best day of the week. I think Thursday is just close enough to the weekend to be excited about that, while also being like, you know what, it's the end of the work week. You've had a decent week, So I think Thursday is my day of the week.
Thursday's my favorite day of the week.
Great day.
But
I have
today,
Thursday ahead of Friday.
today's
Do you
your.
really?
I do.
That. You know what? I like that take. Where do you rank Sunday?
Like, fourth.
I rank it fourth as well.
Ooh, the Lord is so disappointed.
Okay, one.
The Lord is so disappointed. But today's your Friday.
It is my Friday. First bachelor party of my life this weekend. Very, very excited. Super stoked. Don't worry. Older friend, not someone that just graduated college getting married. So that's the first reaction everyone has when I say I'm going on a bachelor party. They're like, You're 22. I was like, no, he's older.
I always say all my friends, everyone's married now, and now everyone's boring. I just can't wait for all of us to get divorced so we could do it all over again. Bachelor parties are a great time, dude, so I hope you have fun.
Thank you. Appreciate
Hope
it.
you have fun. Casey, how are you? Do you have any bachelor parties this weekend? You got anything going on?
I actually have a free weekend, so I'm not doing much.
Go with
this
Jacob,
weekend.
dude. He's going to be getting drunk, having fun.
I'm jealous.
If it was my bachelor party, Casey would be coming. So.
Ooh, that is cool about having new young friends, assuming I get invited. Bachelor parties are going to be a great time. A great time.
There you go.
There you go.
You got to start complimenting the Bengals a little bit. If you want to get on
Have
these,
a great
get on
time,
these
dude.
lists.
Have a great time. Send pictures, dude. Have a great time. All right, lot to get into today. Look, I get it. It's a 162-game season. There's going to be stretches where you be like Elliott and you say, I'm done. The 2024 season is over, and there's been quite a few of those stretches. There have been a few stretches where I'm like, you know what? I'm not even buying back in to the Cincinnati Reds. I'm not. I'm giving up. But I find myself slightly changing. I find myself slightly buying back into the Cincinnati Reds, and I feel the judgmental tones coming from to my right over here.
No,
from
look at
Elliott
that.
and Jacob.
Win streak counter's back.
Counter's back.
What's this? Oh,
We're on the road to 12.
Is that 4 straight W's?
It is.
It's
Straight
4
Ws.
straight W's. I like that.
What we've said all year long is all it takes is one 12-game win streak, and we're a third of the way there.
It would be. I'll give my thoughts later, but it would be the culmination of everything of this season to have a 12-game win streak happen, to put the Reds back in contention for the postseason. It would be very, very, very funny. I don't think it'll happen, but it would be very, very funny.
It'd be pretty funny.
So
Next series is tough.
regardless of whether you buy in or not, regardless of whether I buy in or not, regardless of whether Casey buys in or not, our boss has bought back in.
That's right.
Our guy Trace has bought back in. I know on Chatterbox on Twitter, it was his reaction last night was shared. This, as we're about to share now, is the send out, is the closing moments of last night's Chatterbox Red show. Here is Trace Fowler buying back in, locked in to your Cincinnati Reds.
But season's not dead. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. As I said before, I personally had it dead. But I got to be honest. Sometimes in life, you're wrong. And I'm man enough to admit it. I'm man enough to admit that I was wrong. I'm not saying that they're going to the postseason. But I am saying as a fan sometimes, all you want is just a little bit of hope. You just want something to look forward to the next day. It's one thing to think about the offseason. It's another thing to be like, you know what, in 2025, if this goes right and that goes right, then you know what, maybe it'll all pan out perfectly, and here we go, and we're going to make the postseason. But it's another thing to still have just a semblance of a reason to tune in. And this team, for far too long this season, has not looked that way. By God, I'm going to soak it all in. Call me a buffoon. Call me stupid. But when I tell you I'm all the way back, I'm all the way back, and you should too.
He's all the way back, and you should be in too. So, Elliot, tell your boss he's wrong. Tell your boss he's crazy. Tell your boss he's stupid. Trace, is he stupid? Is he dumb? Is he crazy for being back in? Elliot, are you back in? Are you buying back in, my friend?
You can't be crazy being bought back in to a team that's giving you some sort of life, and that's what it is. That's what they've done over the past 4 games or so, and it's been a little bit of a longer stretch, I'd say, when they've been somewhat competitive. But at the end of the day, I can't do it yet. I told Jacob right before the show, my number is 1. If they get 1 back of a playoff spot, then I'll be back. But until I see it, it's still a long road ahead. We're 4.5 games back of the Atlanta Braves. This isn't the Giants we're chasing. This isn't the New York Mets we're chasing. It's not the lowly Chicago Cubs. We're facing a really good baseball team. And that's who. Now, granted, we do somewhat control our destiny against them. We still have 4 games left with the Braves. That's a positive. But at the end of the day, am I bought back in? Am I all the way back? No. But I understand it. I get it. We haven't had anything good happen to us as Reds fans pretty much ever. So any kind of glimpse of hope that we can get, hold on to it. And if it makes it more interesting for you to watch this season, absolutely, it's a good thing. So. Yeah, I'm not back in yet. They can get back in if they get within one of the wild card. Then I'll be all the way back in. But it was cool last night. Anytime the Reds do what Casey wants them to do and get back in second place of the division, and you see all the screenshots of the NL Central standings, it's very, very funny.
Only 8 back.
Only eight back. I wonder how many games against the Brewers we have. I'm sure we'll win a lot of those.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, I don't fault anybody for getting back in. It's fun. Baseballs can be fun. When you have Elly De La Cruz on your team, it's fun. When you got 2 guys hitting multi-home run yesterday, it's fun. So yeah, it's not back for me, but it can be back for everybody else.
What about you, Jacob? Are you going to tell Trace, who you
Never.
always
How
make
would
fun
I?
of Trace, you always just slam his takes? Let me guess, you agree with Trace.
No, there was a long period. I'm not back in either. I'm very much with Elliot here. But there was a long period of time where I would have said it was stupid to be back in on this team. But I think they've given us enough hope in the last, stretch or so that you can buy back in, and it's at least reasonable to be excited about a lot of the pieces on this team. We're finally taking advantage of great starts, which we've been getting all year long. And that's really the key for the Reds the rest of the way, is just put runs on the board. It sounds dumb and it sounds simple, but we have the pitching where if we just consistently can score a few runs, we're going to win a lot of baseball games. So, yeah, I'm more with Elliot where it's going to take to get back to a 1, maybe 2. I think if we get to 2, I'll buy back in. But yeah, no, I'm not all the way back in on this Reds team, but I'm at least excited to watch them again, which is something that I didn't necessarily expect this late in the season after how it was going there in the middle.
They have to continue it, though. They
Right.
have to. I don't know, when the last stretch was where we took 4 of 5 series, 5 series out of 7, 8 series out of 13, something like that. And I think Kirby touched on it, too, last night. There just hasn't been enough consistency. There hasn't been enough of those stretches where the Reds are taking a lot of games in a short period of time. It's just been a little flare here and there. This is a 4-game win streak. It's cool. But does this mean the Cincinnati Reds are World Series contenders? Are they playoff? Are they a playoff team? No, not at all. So I need this to continue. If they can do this, if they can get one or two games back, and then if they're above 500 by 3 or 4 or 5 games, then I'll also be back. If they miss the playoffs 5 games over 500, I can't really complain. I mean, I will, but I can't. And I'm sure we'll talk about the Barry Larkin comments later on. But I don't disagree with anything he said. I thought he was 100% spot on. I also think there's another side of it where I don't think you have to win a World Series for your season to matter. I know I kind of have that belief in college football that why are we even playing if there is no chance? The Reds have a chance to win a World Series, technically, right? But I don't expect them to win a World Series this year. And this season has given me a ton of value. I've seen Elly de la Cruz grow as a baseball player to be a borderline MVP candidate. I've seen Hunter Green grow to heights that, I'm going to be honest, I had doubts that he would get to this height. He has a 2.83 ERA. He's a borderline Cy Young candidate. And I've taken some joy. Now, granted, you can sit back and look at this season and say it's a disappointment, which it objectively is. You're one game under 500. The date is August 15th. It hasn't gone the way we've wanted. But at the end of the day, if you're a game under 500, if you're 4 games out of a playoff spot, and you have a month and a half left of baseball, you're still in it. Mathematically, by all means, you are still alive. So the Cincinnati Reds fan base, enjoy it. Enjoy it while you can. Kansas City is a tough opponent. I don't know how this series is going to go, but it's going to be a big litmus test to the Elliott buying back in train.
Cincinnati Reds 60-61. They finally cut their record. They're back within 1 of 500. They're off today. They'll have a chance to get even the record at 500 with the series starting tomorrow, which we'll talk about in a bit. As far as the wild card, as you guys talked about, 4.5 games back. That's what stinks. You sweep a team and don't even move up in the standings. Now they were moving up in the standings mainly because of the fact that so many teams were plummeting. One of those teams, the most important one, being the Braves, but the Reds won 3 straight. Well, they've won 4 straight, but the Braves have won 3 straight as well, which cancels some of those out as far as closing that gap. But the 3 hottest teams in the National League outside of the Reds right now, who are not leading the division in the wild card race, you look at the Diamondbacks sitting in the top wild card spot. They've won 6 straight. The Padres and the Braves have won 3 straight, right? You have the Reds who have won 4 straight, but they've dug themselves such a big hole. The one thing I keep going back to that I think you guys brought it up a week or 2 ago, that this ball club, it was wild when you think about it. This is a 500 team. They've played 500 outside of that 1-11 stretch back in May. This has been a team that has finished above 500 in every month of the season, which is kind of wild. So that's you're always going to look back at that stretch and just be kicking yourself a bit because that would make such a big difference right now is where they currently stand. But what's happened all the way up to this point doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what this team does moving forward. And right now they seem to have the positive mojo that they've been looking for, but they've been so inconsistent that there's a reason that guys like Jacob and Casey and Elliott and a lot of people out there aren't completely buying all the way in, is because for every 3 or 4 game win streak, there's been, dropping 5 of 6. There's been dropping 4 of 6. You'll drop 2 or 3. You'll drop a series. The most important series for the Reds is always going to be the next one, but I don't think that is that hot of a take. I think that this next series is very important. I hate that they take momentum into an off day. I hate that they have an off day today as far as that's concerned, but they start a series with a very good Royals team tomorrow, and that's going to be very key. Casey? I thought you were raising your hand. My bad.
I wasn't raising my hand, but I will say something. It does sound like we're due. Everything that you've said, we haven't been consistent all season long. Sounds like we're due for a 12-game win streak. Whether you want to buy back in or not, I won't buy back in. I'm on the same train with Elliott and Jacob here. But the cheese is set on that trap for me to just dive right back in. If they somehow do well the next couple series, if they take 2 or 3 from the Royals, they take 2 or 3 from the Blue Jays, and they do very well against the Pirates, you're basically right there. It would be very hard for me to not be back in on this team, but I still need to see a little bit more. Still need to see a little more before I'm all the way back in.
I'm not going to use World Series expectations as a marker for whether or not I'm excited for this team to make the playoffs or not. Do I expect them to win a World Series? No, but as of 2 weeks ago, I didn't expect them to even be in this position to kind of make us semi-interested again. And let's be clear, 4.5 is kind of a large number. 4.5 back in June is not that large of a number. 4.5 back when you only have a couple weeks left in August and only 1 month of the season remaining, that's kind of a big gap. When we talk about the Diamondbacks and the Padres being so hot at the top, it's basically there's 3 wild card spots. You're fighting for one of those, and there's only one available because I don't think the Padres or the Diamondbacks are falling out of that. It really comes down to the Braves, and the Braves get a couple pieces back, and they're starting to play good baseball too. It doesn't matter what the Reds do the rest of the way. They do, though, have 4 games with the Braves remaining, and that's in September, correct? Is that early September or back into September?
I don't know off the top of my head,
if you know.
but
okay, my bad. Set you up to fail.
It is September 19th or 18th, 19th.
So that could be.
There's a doubleheader in there somewhere, right? It's
17, 18, 19 is the series, and then Monday, September 9th is the postponed game.
Oh, really? It's okay. It's not with those three. Okay, yeah.
So it's just a standalone? Because, I figured it was.
That's what I'm seeing on ESPN.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. Elliot, you mentioned the Barry Larkin comments from a little bit ago. I know that was from not last night's game 2, but it started making its rounds yesterday. I know that Austin Elmore had written a piece on it with Sports Illustrated, so we're going to highlight some of the talking points out of that. We even have the audio. Nick Kirby commented on it during Chatterbox Reds last night, and we're going to give our take on this as well. Barry Larkin, not one of my favorite broadcasters out there. I love the fact that it's Barry Larkin in the booth. But I think last night or 2 nights ago said something that really caught the attention of Reds fans. Some agreed with him, some don't. And we'll get your take on it when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
That'll be the season, too. I'll decide it.
All right, and we are back. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett. Jake, you just put this in the chat on, again, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing, following along. You can watch the show in the mornings from 10 to noon. And our radio listeners in Dayton, we appreciate that you listen to us in the afternoon. But make sure if you want to catch it earlier in the day, you go to Chatterbox and tune in. But you've kind of pinpointed something interesting. Remember, there's 4 games with the Braves that are left. It's a 3-game series that was a part of the regular season schedule, and then a makeup game was added to give it that 4th game, but it's not a part of the 3-game series, correct?
Yeah, it's saying Monday, September 9th at Atlanta is the postponed game, which would fall right between Sunday, September 8th at New York Mets and Tuesday, September 10th at St. Louis. That's a 3-game stretch, back-to-back-to-back, all 3 away, and not particularly close. You're going New York to Atlanta to St. Louis.
Yep.
That's a lot of travel against 3 teams. I know we just passed the Cardinals, just swept them, but they're basically tied with us right now.
Yep.
So that's a stretch there of 7 games against 3 teams all on the road that are right there neck and neck with you for the wild card race that you're going to have to beat in order to have a chance. So if we want to circle a stretch that's going to determine this season, it might be those 7 games.
Yeah, I again, when you're the Reds and you're 1 game under 500 and every game's a fight, every series obviously is going to be very, very important, like Kinner said earlier on. But that stretch specifically, when you're chasing the Mets, you're chasing the Braves, and you're trying to stay ahead of the Cardinals, all on the road, I don't think that there's going to be another. I said the most important stretch of the season was that easy stretch right before and kind of after the All-Star break. The Reds did not take advantage of it. I thought that was terrible. That stretch I'm going to now circle as the most important stretch in the back half. You have to get through that. You have to survive it. So hopefully the Reds are able to do that. I don't think these next 2 series are walk in the parks either. I know the Blue Jays have had a down year, but that's the best division I've ever seen. So I think if you're able to take you got a little bit of a break playing Kansas City at home. If you're able to somehow take 2 of 3 or even just win 1 in Toronto, that's what I want. That's what I expect.
We're getting swept in Toronto if they bring Votto up.
Correct. Yep.
Does Votto still bang?
He will hit a
He
home
will
run.
hit a home
He
run.
will hit a
yeah,
home run.
Yeah, no question about it.
Speaking of expectations, expectations is something that Barry Larkin was highlighting during Game 2 of the Reds-Cardinals broadcast, of course, a couple nights ago. And, I saw some people kind of tweeting about it during the game, but then it kind of died down. But then the video started circulating yesterday. Austin Elmore kind of highlighted this on his Sports Illustrated piece, kind of highlighting what those expectations for the Cincinnati Reds are modern day versus what it was back, when he was one of the best players in baseball and, of course, leading the Reds to a World Series back in 90, of course. And it's something that Barry said a lot of things that I'm very happy that he said, basically calling out not just the organization, but the players and fans and everybody about altering expectations for this team. Here's what Barry Larkin had to say that caught all Reds fans' attention just 2 nights ago during the Reds-Cardinals Game 2.
No, John, that is all fine and good. And, and I think that's the right thing to say. But listen, there's expectation and there should be expectation. in this city with this amount of talent that we have. We have a superstar talented pitcher. We have superstar talented players, right? And there has to be something and someone that it just cannot accept mediocrity, if you will. 500 baseball is 500 baseball. You don't win playing 500 baseball. Literally, you have dominant players, and they have to figure out, just like that young man has right there, how to dominate. And I think these guys, they need to be pushed. All right, I know that. I'm sitting here and just thinking about myself and Eric Davis and what he did for me in my career. What he did is he challenged me. He didn't let me just go out there and just play and be okay. He told me it is unacceptable for you to be a 500 ball player. It's unacceptable. And I feel
He said it's unacceptable to be a 500 ball club, right? And that's what the Reds have been. And we talk about expectations all the time, right? We talk about we were just talking about our expectations here. Look, the Reds are 4.5 back. From a fan perspective, we're trying to not just go dive into the deep end and say, okay, the Reds are officially back. I know Trace was super jacked, and we played that clip to start the show. I'm really buying into this team of having a chance, and that's all you can do is just give yourself a chance. That's what the Reds have done. But that's not what Barry Larkin was talking about as far as the fans are concerned. He did something that was more kind of directed at the players. We complain about the front office all the time, what the front office needs to do in the offseason, how much money they need to spend, how aggressive they need to be at a deadline. What moves are they going to discuss at winter meetings? We could talk about all of those things, but the one thing that Barry Larkin kind of highlighted was the fact that, hey, from an organizational standpoint, from the player standpoint, the players need to expect more out of one another. They need to expect more out of themselves. And it can't just be, oh, man, look, we're happy that if we could just not get swept. Like we say that all the time. That's such a sad mindset to have when it comes to being a fan of a team. I'm not saying you're wrong, but that is where we've been kind of conditioned with this team. Oh, just as long as we don't get swept, that's all we really hope for, right? Like we have to start getting to the point. The players have to start getting to the point. The front office has to start getting to the point where we're not just hoping to be competitive. Being competitive, that's just an understanding that everyone has. You show up to the ballpark, you should automatically be competitive. That shouldn't be something that you're striving to be. Oh, man, we're striving to be competitive. You shouldn't be striving to be competitive. You should be competitive. You should be striving to be great. We talked about this team is nowhere close to World Series. If they make the playoffs, I'll be happy. It shouldn't just be hoping to make the wild card. It should be striving to win a World Series. And there's levels to this. And when we talk about expectations, the Reds seem to be a few levels behind. And it all starts to me with a mindset, expectations. It shouldn't just be, oh, we're hoping to be competitive. No, you should be hoping and not hoping. Hoping's not a game plan, by the way. That hoping is not a model that you should be following. You should be going out there and executing, and that's what the Reds need to start doing and expecting to have success. I agreed with everything he said. I know there's a different direction that you guys kind of picked up on that I know Jacob are going to touch on. I know Trace touched on as well. I applaud Barry Larkin for coming out and basically saying this. I get tired of the cheerleader-type media approach to everything's great. We got beat 9-0, but, man, we had some great at-bats. Ugh, yawn, barf, puke. Get rid of that. I'm tired of that. Okay? Everyone should have expectations, high expectations, expecting to win, expecting to compete for World Series, expecting to be competing for division titles. Stop cheering a long at-bat that ultimately ends up in a strikeout. That stuff is garbage. I'm tired of that. I agree with everything Barry Larkin had to say. I know there's a different take on this, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it because there was something else he said that caught people's attention throughout this.
So I agree with what Barry's saying. I think super talented teams should not accept 500 baseball. It's not a winning recipe. He absolutely makes great points. My only pushback is, where's the talent on this team? Elly de la Cruz is phenomenal, and he should maybe be the MVP of the National League. Hunter Green is incredible. He's the ace, and he's maybe the Cy Young. We have great pitching. We have a bullpen that's put nails in the coffin all year long. The rest of this offensive lineup is not good.
No.
Jonathan India has had 3-4 weeks of elite baseball this year. And other than that, he's been okay. There's been 2 stretches this season where he hasn't gotten a hit for a long period of time. Fridel's been great. He's played 45 games this year. Marte was supposed to be the second best player on this team with McLean hurt, and we know what he's done since he came back from his steroid suspension. This team projected healthy with McLean, with Marte, with Fridel, was projected to win 81 games.
Yep.
To act like there's some wealth of talent on this team, I understand that you see blips from these guys that are phenomenal, and you really want to root for this team to be good, and the way you do that is you talk about the talent and where this team could go. I just don't see a talent level on this team far beyond 500. I think the roster we roll out there every day is about a 500 roster. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say I've been impressed with Santiago Espinal and Luke Maley and Jacob Rbis and Levi Jordan and every other player that we've helped subbed up at some point during this season. The fact of the matter is, I outside of Elly de la Cruz, they do lack a lot of what a good offense looks like. And I don't think that's a controversial take. I think that's objectively true. Just the numbers aren't there. But at the end of the day, I think I agree with 100% of everything that he said. I think you expecting to go into every season just having a chance, hoping, not even really having a chance, you're expecting to hope to have a chance. And I don't think that's ever been the mentality that I want to have, especially when you're a fan base as starving as this one. I think Reed and I had the debate, or not a debate, but we agreed on it earlier on this year when we had that really tough stretch in May, and Trace and Kirby and everybody else said, let's go 13-17. Let's go 4 games below 500 during this stretch, and hopefully we can skate by. Reed and I said, I think expecting or wanting to expect to go 4 games under 500, that's not the mentality you should have. You should expect to win baseball games. And you might say it's not realistic, but that's what it is being a fan. Or that's what it is being a good baseball team. You expect to win every game you play. Barry Larkin said it. It's an expectation to be a winning ball club. You don't expect to be 500. 500's the bar metric. When I say somebody's hitting above the Mendoza, it doesn't mean they're good. I think it's just one of those things where if the Reds are able to stay 500 right now, it keeps them alive, it keeps them in the hunt. But eventually, and I'm hoping at some point, those expectations turn to, we're a good baseball team. We're better than your baseball team. We're 10 games above 500. We're going to win a playoff series. We're in the playoffs already. We've clinched with 2 weeks left. And I don't think it's I don't want to say it's nobody doesn't want that. Everybody wants that. It's not me saying that. So I understand the people that say let's just fight for 500 because it keeps you mathematically alive. But at some point, somebody in our organization, like Barry says, has to take the team in a new direction, a direction that consists of being above 500 for more than just a couple stretches. Your team's better than a 12-game win streak. It has to be, or else you're never going to go as far as you want.
Yeah, the other thing too, and by the way, I agree with you. I agree with Trace in regards to this. It's not like this is a star-studded lineup where there's depth everywhere. There are holes in this roster. You guys, I think, looked at it from this season-only perspective. I think what Barry Larkin was saying was more than just this particular isolated scenario. It's big picture. I think it starts at the top down. Now, I know he was talking about, when he had, his Eric Davis, holding him accountable. He's talking about from the players' perspective. The players have to have that mentality as well. And by the way, who's to say that they don't? I can't say, I know the Joey Votto take, right? But the thing that Barry Larkin did is what I want, not just former players, current players. I want all players to do kind of what Barry Larkin did and to be outspoken about, hey, what the hell are we doing? We have got to strive for greatness. I think that's why Barry Larkin's take the other day, regardless of what you think about how Barry Larkin does in the broadcast booth, that was the most valuable thing I've heard him say in his entire stretch here. That's not a shot at Barry Larkin, but that's what you look for and listen for when you hear former greats talk. Pete Rose, when he's not talking about his gambling, battle with baseball, getting the Hall of Fame, when you just hear him talk baseball, I can listen to him talk baseball for hours. I just love it. I watched that Pete Rose documentary, and you could just hear how pissed off he would get in his voice when his teams weren't living up to expectations, when they weren't playing at a championship-like level. And I missed those. You could hear Barry Larkin the other night, right? Barry Larkin, you could just hear the competitiveness in his voice too. Like, what are we doing? Why are we just striving for mediocrity? Like, what are we doing? And that's what we all need to be asking. What are we doing? And I don't think it was just about this year. I don't think it was just about this roster or just these players. I think it's this front office. I think it's ownership. I think it's the fans. I think it's everyone. Big picture mentality, moving forward, questioning why it's been this way in the past. Do I think anything's going to change because of Barry Larkin's comments? Possibly not, other than maybe they don't bring him back to broadcast. I don't know. Now, some are saying, I bet you the front office doesn't like that he said this. Did he say anything wrong? That if I'm Castellini and I'm listening to this, do we really think that Phil Castellini is upset with these comments from Barry Larkin? I actually thought that those were critiquing comments. I don't even think they were that critical. He wasn't calling anybody out individually. I don't think he was bashing anybody. He was just talking about expectations. I don't know why so many people feel like the Reds are just going to be horrified by his take the other night.
Should they be mad? Probably not. Did the Orioles suspend a broadcaster for reading stats about a losing streak a decade ago? Yes.
Valid. Fair.
So I think ownership is pretty,
sensitive.
Sensitive about what their broadcasters and their employees say about the team. And I would assume they aren't super stoked about open criticism about whether it's the players or the management or the front office, whatever it is, that's criticism of something. That's criticism of the way the organization has been run for 30 years. So the ownership can't be too thrilled.
My biggest takeaway from that whole thing is that he said that over the air. I haven't been a Barry Larkin fan in terms of his broadcasting abilities, but him saying that last night took a major step up with me just because
good. You liked it. I thought you were saying.
No, I did.
Oh,
no,
okay,
I liked
good.
it. It takes guts to do that over the air for a small market franchise whose ownership has been, let's just say, had their feelings hurt and expressed that in a terrible way over the past couple of seasons. So, yeah, I think it was awesome what he did, and hopefully to have a guy like Barry Larkin be suspended or to be whatever for saying something like that, it would just blow up in their face. So nothing will happen. But for the record, it is very, very cool what he did.
All right.
Nothing will happen because it's Barry.
Correct.
Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. The Reds off today, game one with the Kansas City Royals tomorrow. We'll talk more about that on tomorrow's show. We'll step away for a few when we come back. Nick Kirby, Chatterbox Reds last night. He had his own theory as to what the motives were for, of course, Barry Larkin going on that rant 2 nights ago. It's different from everyone else's take, and no one has brought it up, and I'm surprised. But a very interesting clip from Chatterbox Reds last night, and hearing Nick Kirby's dissection of what he believes the true motives were for Barry Larkin saying what he did. We'll discuss when we come back. All right, and we are back off the bench. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. I saw Blackmore say Larkin is the new Marty with the hot takes on the air like
That's
that.
right.
So there you go.
If we can compare Barry Larkin in the booth to Marty Brennan, that's a step
Really?
too far.
Really?
Yeah.
But you know what? It's funny. With Tom not being on the call for quite a few years now, no Marty on the call for quite a few years now, we've become conditioned to just very cheerleader-like, responses. I mean, and that's not a shot at anybody, because you don't do that, you get fired. I'm not taking a shot at anyone in the Reds broadcast team whatsoever. I got to make sure I clear that up. But these front offices, they're sensitive. They get their feelings hurt. And when Marty was big, when the Brennemans were so big, right? Like you're not going to be able to go and say, hey, don't say that about us. Hey, I know we're not really spending a lot of money or trying to make this roster better, but could you just not tell people that what we're doing? That'd be great. I'd really appreciate it. Hey, can you not be critical of the player who's struck out 25 straight times? I don't think that's ever happened, but you know what I mean. The point is we've become so conditioned to cheerleader-type media now that Barry Larkin, who I don't think was even that critical, it was just his philosophy that he was sharing, we got all uncomfortable. Right? That's what I found most fascinating about all of that. But why would Barry Larkin say all of that now? Why now? Barry Larkin's been around calling games for a few years. Why in middle of August 14th, 2024? What is it about mid-August 2024 with a team that is coming off a 4-game win streak, 4.5 games out of the wild card, that's been banged up for most of the season, playing good baseball? There's a lot going on. Why now? Why would Barry Larkin all of a sudden go on this little rant? Nick Kirby had his theory last night on Chatterbox Reds. Take a listen.
I don't really have a problem with the comments at face value. I just wonder what the motivation for making those comments were. I mean, I think Barry Larkin's made it pretty clear that he wants to be the Reds manager.
No.
And I kind of feel like this was taking an opportunity to lobby for that because I
Do you agree? Nick Kirby last night, Chatterbox Red, said, look, he was kind of questioning the motives behind Barry Larkin coming out now with that type of criticism. And again, at first it sounded like, expectations for the organization as a whole. But then when it came down to motivating players, talking about Lou Piniella's approach and how he's kind of mirroring Lou Piniella's approach, I didn't really take it that way 2 nights ago until I heard Nick Kirby last night on Chatterbox Reds bring it up. What was his approach? Was this Barry Larkin lobbying to be the next Reds manager? I mean, I didn't think of it like that initially, but last night, Chatterbox Reds, Nick Kirby, Trace Fowler do a great job, by the way. Sandlin does a great job when he's in, too. It's a team effort to cover 162 games during a long regular season. But agree, thumbs up, thumbs down, agree, disagree. Was Barry Larkin lobbying for the Reds managerial position with that rant from 2 nights ago?
It's a bold strategy. I don't know if it's going to pay off for him, but I will say this: if that was for almost an audition tape to be the manager of the Reds, then yeah, it would have worked for me. Would have worked completely. I thought it fired up the fan base. I think it was a spark that, to be quite honest. And this is where I hate to do this type of stuff. I really do. And the chat knows I flip-flopped on this for a year and a half now.
Takes a toll on a man.
It does take, snip, snap, snip, snap. But David Bell, I don't know if he's capable of that. I don't know if he's capable of firing up the fan base. And he's the manager of the team. My whole argument for David Bell is that you can't really find anybody that's going to do it differently than him. There's a formula to being the manager of a baseball team in the year 2024. There's a method to how you do it, and that is to follow analytics. It's to follow the book, and you go from there. David Bell, it's been no secret that his press conferences in the post game after those losses, Kinner kind of brought it up earlier, when you lose 9-0, but the at bats were we really liked what we saw tonight. Didn't go our way, but we loved what we saw in the 9-0 loss. I think David Bell doesn't have the inspire the fan base in him. And I know maybe the manager's job shouldn't be to inspire a fan base, but it certainly was. It felt good 2 nights ago hearing that from Barry Larkin. If there was a change in the manager spot, if in post-game press conferences, instead of being no-hit by Blake Snell and saying, you know what, just another loss, instead we would have Barry Larkin maybe saying something else that would fire up the team, fire up us, make us want to watch.
Yeah, what's wrong with the manager saying, yeah, tonight, first of all, hats off to Blake Snell, but right now we're in, we only have a month and a half left of the season, or just under 2 months left of the season. I think it's unacceptable for the bats not to show up tonight, and we got to be better. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I don't know why coaches have to do this. We got to protect the feelings of the players. You think that the players don't know that they played like ass in the clubhouse? Like, what are we doing? And again, I didn't mean to make it so much about David Bell in this particular situation, but technically, if that was Barry Larkin's, if that was his angle, that's very selfish of him. Don't get me wrong. Right now, the Reds playing good baseball. They got some of the fans back into it, and then you throw that out there. If his angle, if his motive was to lobby for the job, I do have a problem with that. I think that is selfish. And we don't know if that's what he was doing or not. Yeah. But I thought that was an interesting theory from Nick Kirby last night. If that's what he was doing, I would kind of have a problem with it. When you're losing series left and right, you're getting no hit, you're getting shut out regular, and he throws that out there, I have no problem with it. But right now, there's a little bit of a belief again in this team. So I thought it was a weird time to throw that out if that was his motive, if that was his intention.
But here's the other thing, and you kind of just alluded to it there. The Reds have fought back a little bit. They're 1 game under 500, and we don't credit David Bell. Nobody mentions Nobody mentions David Bell. Nobody thinks about David Bell. It's like David Bell doesn't exist. Would that sentiment change if Barry Larkin was the manager of the Reds? I don't think it would. I really don't think it would. That's where my argument stems from. I just don't. When you look at the most important pieces of a baseball team, a baseball franchise, the manager is at the bottom of the list, and that's my point. If the Reds go on some run and make the postseason here, are we going to credit David Bell or no? Probably not, and that's fine because again, I don't think David Bell is as huge of a factor when it comes to wins and losses.
You also didn't kill him when we lost, though.
Correct,
and that was the big takeaway during that stretch was,
right.
Hey, they're struggling, but they're struggling because of health. They're struggling because of X, Y, and Z. I mean, I could list 5 reasons before I even get to manager being on the top of the list.
I mean, everyone wanted David Bell fired at the All-Star break, and now we're clawing back and we're in the race, and everyone wants to credit everyone but David Bell. So that's kind of where I've stood with Elliott the entire time, is that it's not fair to just kill him when we lose and give him nothing when we win. It's a brutal job that gets no thanks, and he's really had a tough shake this year in every sense of the word. I mean, Nick Lodolo was phenomenal. He had a blister. He missed 2 starts, and he's came back, and he hasn't been great since. Hunter's obviously strung together a great season. Same with Elly, but the rest of the lineup has been in and out of hot and cold streaks and in and out of the minors, basically. So I don't know what you necessarily expected from David Bell. I think he's done an admirable job to keep this team fighting for a playoff spot this late in the season with all the stuff they've had to deal with. But I also understand why, after however many years he's been the manager of the Reds, never ever being above 500, it's like, what do you want to do?
I get the rationale for wanting to fire David Bell. Don't get me wrong, and I'm on the fire David Bell wagon now just because I'm tired of it. But here's a question: if Barry Larkin becomes manager, and objectively probably 1 year, it's 2 years, it's going to go bad. It's a small market team. You don't have winning seasons every year. It sucks to say it, but it's the truth. And especially with the Cincinnati Reds, who've had a hell of a lot more losing seasons than winning seasons over the past 30 years. What happens when the Reds are bad under Barry Larkin? Are we going to kill Barry Larkin? A guy who definitely knows baseball, who's been in the game, won an MVP. We're going to kill or we're going to kill Barry Larkin.
It's going to be the
get
front
on his
office
case.
is forcing him to use analytics.
Correct.
Barry's
so
not allowed to
we'll
manage.
just move the line,
Yeah.
which is it's a game I'm not interested in playing. I think would I be okay with Barry Larkin as manager? Sure, I'd be okay with it. Yep. But I'm going to let everybody know there's going to be years where it doesn't go our way, and you're going to want to fire Barry Larkin for reasons that aren't Barry Larkin's fault.
See, I think from fan perspectives too, like we don't know what David Bell says in the clubhouse. We don't know what, when him and his staff are together and they're making plans for this upcoming series, and they're planning a month out. They have an idea of what they, assuming health doesn't get in the way, they kind of have an idea of what pitchers are going to be up for what series, what games, what matchups, this, that, and the other. We don't know what's being said in that clubhouse. I don't know when the Reds enter that clubhouse after a tough defeat. What is the message? Is he as dull and blah with them as he is with the media? I have no idea. But coaches have a media tone, and they have a tone that they have with their players. For instance, not comparing David Bell to Bill Belichick, but hear me out. Bill Belichick, I've watched do the worst press conferences season in and season out. He did the Pat McAfee show the other day. It was cool as hell. Did you see it, Jacob? Did you see Bill Belichick was just a normal person. He was making jokes. He was laughing. I was like, what the hell? So we base things off of how a coach or manager is in a press conference. Bill Belichick, a guy I work with in Dayton, Keith Byers, played for Belichick, was on the staff with Bill Parcells when KB played for the Patriots. He even said, Bill Belichick's, that's not, like the way he is with the media, that's not how he is with players. That's not how he interacts at practice and stuff. It's just this tone he puts on with the media. We have no clue. I learned that from a former player that played for him. Otherwise, I would have just based my sole opinion on it based on how he interacts with the media. I don't know how David Bell is there, but it did feel, based on what I heard from Nick Kirby last night and then going back and re-listening to that again, it did seem like throwing my hat into the ring. I'm lobbying. When you're bringing up Lou Piniella, what's the significance of Lou Piniella other than being a big-time personality and a big-time manager? Oh, yeah, he was the last manager of the Reds when they won a World Series. And that's the last manager that won a World Series. Here's what he used to say, and I agree with them. Here's what I would say. Yeah, it does come across that way. And by the way, in the chat, I know for a fact, not too long ago, we threw out Barry Larkin's name as a name for the next Reds manager. He was not being greeted in our chat with the same support that he is today, which is kind of wild. So that comment, those quotes from the other night, that resurrected a lot of fans back into the Barry Larkin camp.
Yeah, listen. If I'm not a huge fan of Barry Larkin's broadcasting career so far. It's just I don't know if he's added a ton to broadcasts, unfortunately, just from my perspective as a fan. I don't want the legacy of Barry Larkin to further go down as a manager of the Reds. Could it go up? 100% it could. But that's a risk I'm not willing to take. And that's just been my opinion. I want to remember Barry Larkin as a Hall of Fame MVP winner, Reds legend. That's how I want to remember Barry Larkin for. I don't know if I want to remember him for manager of a team, taking over for David Bell with Elly de la Cruz and winding up with disappointing season after disappointing season. That's just the pessimist in me. I understand that. You have to take risks to win games. If the risk is to make Barry Larkin manager, do it. Do it. Let's see if it works. But that's just my opinion. I don't want to tarnish the legacy of a guy that I've looked up to for quite some time. We do have a super chat. Ned Flanders. Thank you, Ned. Reds fans demand a bigger Reds fans demand a bigger blank for their manager.
You could say a-hole.
Okay, a-hole. Many candidates are available. Ollie Marmol will soon be looking for a gig. Well, yeah, maybe. Shout out to the Cardinals.
The chat's been throwing out a lot of names, and it's managers who have been successful in the league, but not in a long time. And I think that's an area that would make me very upset with the Reds if they move on from David Bell.
Yep.
And just go get a guy who is a baseball lifer. And, Girardi just got fired a couple years ago in Philly, and Rob Thompson led him to a World Series. I'm not exactly, super stoked to bring Joe Girardi in here. Aaron Boone's been thrown around a lot. He hasn't been able to capitalize on the biggest payroll in baseball history right before the Dodgers signed Shohei.
Well, let me ask
in New York.
Sorry, my bad.
No, you're fine. It's just I don't know why you bring a guy into Cincinnati who has had more resources and a better roster and not been able to succeed. That's my thing.
Why would and totally agree, especially with the when you look at the Yankees and everything. Like David Bell does not get the luxury of that payroll and the luxury of aggressive front office personnel. He doesn't get the luxury of having Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and Garrett Cole. He doesn't get that luxury of having those types of weapons at his disposal on a year in, year out basis, right? But so that from a tangible explanation like that I would agree with. But we sit here in Cincinnati and say, well, David Bell's not to blame for all their deficiencies. But then we'd say, but I don't want Barry Larkin to come in. Well, what impact does a manager have in Cincinnati if that's the case? You think Barry Larkin would do a bad job if that is the case?
I'm not thrilled on hiring anyone with Reds connections already.
Fair enough.
I kind of want to just go get someone new. We've seen the front office promote Phil every step of the way. Nick Kroll just keeps moving up. And Brad Meter keeps moving up. And everyone that's been with this team for a decade, when they've won so many games,
a lot,
just keeps getting promotions. I'm ready to just go get someone else. Go get someone from outside of the city, outside of the organization, someone that's going to change something. Because if you hire Barry Larkin, I hate to break it to everyone, nothing's changing. He's just going to do what the front office tells him. He's been here forever. Obviously, he's speaking out on the broadcast. That's great. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll come in and do what he wants to do and do it his own way. Maybe I'm wrong. But I have a hard time believing that the Castellinis don't at least have a little bit of control over everyone who's already a part of the organization. So any internal hire, anyone, even such as Larkin, who works for the broadcast team, I'd have the same issue with all of them, and I think it's just an extension of the Castellinis and just a reshuffle of David Bell in a different outfit.
I agree with Jacob 100%.
Didn't mean for this to turn in. Should Barry Larkin be the next Reds manager? I apologize that it went that direction, but we're just responding to stuff in the chat, and that's totally fine. I just, the motive of why now, why say that? I thought that was a good point last night by Nick Kirby, Chatterbox Reds. Make sure you are subscribing, following along to that, by the way. Only a month and a half left of the season, and hopefully a little bit more. Hopefully. 4.5 games, though. It's the gap between the Reds and the final wild card spot. Second place in the division, they're creeping up on the Brewers.
That's right.
Creeping up
That's
on the
right.
Brewers. There you go. All right, good stuff. By the way, Casey put in on YouTube, Chatterbox on YouTube, on the live stream right now. Do you agree with Barry Larkin? That's the poll in the chat right now. 68% of the viewers right now agree with Barry Larkin. 8% say no, and then 24% say yes in theory, but we aren't good. We aren't good, they say. So continue to go in and take part in the poll. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. We'll get into some Cincinnati Bengals stuff. Jamar Chase, well, he's in Chicago, so that's a good thing, right? We'll talk about that coming up later on. The biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs, is it still Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals? We got that coming up around the corner, but we'll step away for just a brief pause, and then Elliot will bring us his headlines. Oh, more off the bench next. Hey, welcome back. Off the bench, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Jacob Tissett, and Elliot Rearing, which he is in charge of Elliot's headlines.
Elliot loves three things: Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
That's right. I love that. That's my favorite sounder we have. Headlines today: the Reds, as we have been talking about for 3 segments, they win again. They finish off a sweep of the Cardinals to take second place in the division. They trail the Mets, Giants, and Braves. They are still 4.5 games back of the wild card. Didn't make any games up in that 3-game sweep of the Cardinals, but you passed a couple teams along the way. The Reds beat the Cardinals 9-2. Emelio Pagan opened and was very, very good. They used 5 other pitchers. Spiers was the only one who struggled. That's your guy, Spiers.
That is my guy.
Jonathan India went 3
He
for...
surely started, right?
No.
Second, right?
No, I don't think so. Jonathan India went 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs, 2 home runs. Elly Cruz had an RBI double. Stephenson also hit a solo shot. TJ Fridel, on his birthday, had a multi-home run game. The bottom half of the lineup, Jake Fraley, Will Benson, and Noelvi Marte, they all had hits. A combined 5 of 11. The Reds will return to action tomorrow night against the Royals. Former Red Michael Lorenzen takes on Nick Martinez. Lorenzen is 5-6 with a 3.79 ERA and a 1.30 WHIP. Nick Martinez has a 1.03 WHIP with a 3.16 ERA. Around the league, the Reds are trailing the Atlanta Braves. Unfortunately, will look to, for a 4-game sweep of the Giants this afternoon. They won last night 13-2. Michael Harris, in his first at-bat since his return from the IL, hit a grand slam. Tough. The Blue Jays dominated the Angels. Barrios looked sharp. Varsho's 3-run shot helped them finish off their sweep of L.A. L.A. Angels, man, that's a sad franchise there. The Yankees, they dominated the White Sox 10-2. Aaron Judge becomes the fastest player ever to reach 300 home runs. It was his 955th baseball game. Soto also hit another home run in this series.
They walked Soto intentionally to get to Judge.
Oh, yeah.
And Judge hit his 300th.
Very, very good.
It's a shame how late he came up, that he won't be able to chase career numbers.
Yes.
But, yeah, he's an incredible player.
Brewers, they get a win back against L.A., the Dodgers, 5-4 the final score. Walker Buehler hasn't been great this year. He was pulled early, only 3 1/3 innings, allowing 3 hits, 4 walks, 1 earned run, and 4 total runs. Athletics lose big to the Mets 9-1. Lindor and Alonso, they both hit home runs. Astros hold on to beat the Rays 2-1 in extra innings. The Cubs, they get swept away by the Guardians after a 6-1 loss last night. Alex Cobb got his first win in nearly a year. Good for Alex Cobb. The Tigers, they beat the Mariners again, 3-2 the final score. The Phillies end their losing skid after winning 9-5 last night against the Marlins. Schwarber hit a Schwarbomb, a grand slam, to help them cement their victory.
He's from Middletown.
That's right. The Padres, they complete their second sweep of the season against the Pirates. They are 6-0 for the year against Pittsburgh. The Pirates have now lost 10 games in a row. Mitch Keller has given up 15 earned runs in his last 9 innings of work. Back-to-back games, 7 runs and 8 runs. Ugh. Other baseball news, the White Sox, they've dropped 2025 season ticket prices. So look forward to that. Well, not for free. You're going to have to pay something. I think it might be a joint venture with the Bulls. So maybe you get like half discount White Sox, discount Bulls all at the same time. Just a whole bunch of mediocrity. Go tune in Chicago. NFL news, the Patriots, they have traded Judon to the Falcons. Thoughts, Jacob?
Love it. I think
Matthew
Matthew
Judon's
Judon's a great player. I think he still has a lot left in the tank. I know he's getting a little older, but incredibly productive last year. Just another piece to that Falcons defense. That team's really, really scary, in my opinion. And they're still linked to Justin Simmons, the safety from Denver as well. So they might be adding more pieces to that defense. If I was in the NFC South and I wasn't on the Falcons, I'd be real worried about my chances to compete in that division.
Wasn't Casey saying that they were going to be bad?
Yeah, Casey's
he's
been low on the
burying
Falcons
them.
for a long time.
I don't think
now.
Casey's ever said anything
ridiculous.
positive about the Falcons.
I'm going to have to go clip up what I said a year ago. I can't let that stand. Oh, my God.
No, Casey's been on him even longer than I have.
Desmond
Yeah.
Ridder. The Cowboys are signing Carl Lawson.
Good for him.
So good for Carl Lawson.
People forget how good he was before that Achilles injury.
People do forget.
He was unbelievable.
Soccer news.
You want me to pronounce it for you?
Please.
It's Mauricio Pochettino.
Mauricio Pochettino has agreed to become the new United States coach with the responsibility of leading them into the 2026 World Cup, a source told ESPN this morning.
How close are we to
funny
fire Mauricio or whatever?
Yeah.
You know what's really funny?
He got hired on the hot seat.
Yeah. How hot is that seat?
It's not hot at all. What's funny about this, the names sound really familiar to me when you guys brought it up this morning. He's Chelsea's former manager, and my wife and family follow Chelsea. I was very shocked. I was like, this is a great hire then, because Pochettino brought Chelsea back to relevance. Had a group of guys that he kind of helped develop and gain that, gain that identity for the team, the soccer club, and now they're back to a top 5 team in the Premier League. So ownership just stinks, and they cut him for differences in opinions and views. And now he's with the men's team, and as of right now, the men's team, very young, needing to find that identity. It's a good match. Unfortunately, Pochettino's never won anything. So
Yeah, that's the thing I read, is you fire a guy for not winning anything and you go hire a guy who's never won anything.
Yeah.
I think Greg got the wrong end of the stick there.
But
Pinocchio.
in terms of development, which is what the men's team really needs, is development, I think he's a good fit in that regard. He's got a great track record of basically propping teams up, but never winning.
So
with
he'll
any
get the
big
team
game.
ready, establish their identity, we'll fire him and bring in a winner.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's called
I'm
the setup
I'm in.
guy.
Yeah, I'm in. It's always the guy
He's
after
the
the
bullpen.
I want Bradley back.
No, you don't want Bradley back.
I want Greg
won
back.
He has won like French Cup and French Super Cup, I guess. I'm just looking at some of his achievements,
Did you
but
watch the
nothing,
French
nothing
Super
huge.
Cup?
Yeah,
Stop,
every
you guys.
match.
Casey, I appreciate you, man. You put up with so much BS, dude. Like you try to provide information, you just keep getting dunked on over and over, and he keeps a smile on his face. I appreciate that.
I'm just trying to lay it out for them.
You're trying to grow the game.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm trying to grow the game. It's going to be huge here in America in a couple of years.
Do you
Yeah.
think Jason Sudeikis is doing anything?
I
You
actually
should hire him to
Well,
coach.
not him.
Well, he would have to play Ted Lasso
Correct,
the whole time.
correct.
Yeah,
He'd
yeah,
have
yeah.
to
He would
sign
have to play Ted
contracts.
Lasso the entire time.
His contract for the United States men's national team would have to say Ted Lasso,
Well, 100%, yeah.
not Jason.
I think he might have to sign it as Sudeikis for legal reasons. And then he would coach the team as he'd be Coach Lasso.
Regardless,
You don't actually believe that, do you?
Well, I think
Regardless, I would.
he's
believe
won.
in the
I've
team.
seen him win more than this guy.
It's true. Jason Sudeikis brought a team that's never won before a Premier League championship.
That's right.
I think.
A team that doesn't even exist.
Did they not win the Premier League?
No, I don't think they won the Premier League. I
They-
don't think they did.
Okay. Well, they didn't get cut from it
That's right.
after the first cut.
And he made him do football drills, and I love that.
Yep.
Ted Lasso, the only show that got me semi-interested in soccer.
That is the most soccer I've ever watched.
I liked it.
Is Ted Lasso. It was good.
Big soccer.
You know who I would sign? I'd sign the angry soccer player, Roy Kent.
Okay.
Ooh,
I think Roy Kent would
Great
be
leader.
a good manager.
a great leader
So I think that's who we should be looking for.
as the Reds manager, right?
Yes, as the Reds
As the Reds manager.
Yes.
Okay. Personally, I'd go with Tony D'Amato, the Al Pacino character in Any Given Sunday.
Yeah.
That's probably the best coach. And if you really want someone that's going to fire up the locker room, the antithesis of David Bell, I think you'd rock with him.
I agree. That's actually a really good one.
I like it.
This is a good segment.
This is. But, Casey, I do appreciate the effort in trying to educate our listeners on the happenings in the wonderful world of soccer.
Of course.
USA. USA. A lot of French talk, though.
Is that it for the headlines?
Oh, yeah, that's it.
I have two more.
Two more headlines.
Two more headlines.
Bonus headlines.
One that surely Kinner's going to make fun of us for, but I think it's big news. Jamar Chase traveled with the team to Chicago.
Yes.
Why would I make fun of that?
Well, you make fun of every time we talk about off-the-field Bengals stuff.
No, I have no room to talk. Have you seen the Mike Hill?
Oh, I guess that's true. He practiced yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, great decision by the organization. Hey, we know, you threatened to kill somebody, but come on. Get in the three-point stance. Let's go.
Yeah, but to be fair, they let the quarterback practice, so why not?
All about fair.
Moving on. Yeah, I was wrong yesterday. I thought Jamar not being at practice because he wasn't going to travel. I guess he did travel.
So he took his pouting show on the road, is what you're saying.
He is the worst holdout person ever. He's terrible at it.
Yeah.
He is horrible at holding out. I don't think he knows what he wants.
Yeah,
He loves the team so much, he doesn't even want to miss an away preseason game.
As far as I'm concerned, he's on the team. He's already been signed.
I think I'm with you. And the last headline I have is pretty interesting. So, yesterday, Arkansas quarterback Malachi Singleton threw a touchdown pass to 29-year-old freshman wide receiver Monte Harrison.
Repeat that.
Arkansas quarterback Malachi Singleton threw a touchdown pass in practice to freshman wide receiver Monte Harrison.
How old did you say he was?
29 years old.
Is that
as a freshman? You want to know why he's 29 years old?
Oh, this is good.
Because he played professional baseball. He was one of the key prospects traded to the Marlins from the Brewers in the Christian Yelich trade.
Nice.
How many years ago
and now
was
at
that?
29 years old, he's a freshman in college football.
That's absolutely incredible.
That's what's wild about the NIL stuff is now that's like a secondary option. My baseball career is not working. I might as well go make money in college.
Insane.
That's wild.
29-year-old freshman.
I mean, I was a 30-year-old senior, so.
At what point does it become like a danger to other people when you're 30 years old?
So I don't necessarily, at some point it has to. But my thing is, if you're 29 years old playing college football, you're not that good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You'd be in the league.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know if 29-year-old was the headline. That's why I made you repeat it.
No, well, that's certainly interesting. But yeah, he was sent from the Brewers to the Marlins in the Christian Yelich trade.
Interesting. God, 29. A little bit ago.
That's right.
All right.
How old are you?
Me, I'm 34.
29. 1 year younger than Reed.
29.
Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. All right, good stuff. We'll step away for a few moments. You talked about the Bengals yesterday. We had, well, for one, I know, Casey, you're going to get to reads coming up, ads coming up here in just a second. But on the radio side, when we come back, Trey Wingo joined us yesterday. We talked all things AFC North. We discussed who is the biggest threat to keeping the Kansas City Chiefs from winning their third straight Super Bowl. Does he think it's the Cincinnati Bengals? Do you guys think it's the Cincinnati Bengals? What other teams could be in the mix? We'll discuss that when we come back. More Off the Bench next.
All right. It is ad time, everyone. Pawnee Water. Where is it at? There we go. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing other brands use. The result being a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. You hear that? That sounds like the healthy, best tasting water in the world, doesn't it? Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy this great tasting water. The Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. At Encore Technologies, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world. From mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions, they help businesses enhance efficiency and
Dictivity.
That's right, Jimbo. Visit encore.tech, where your path to innovation begins. Here, there, everywhere, but mainly here. Game Time, our ticketing sponsored app, is one of the best apps in the entire world. It is just very, very just clean to look at. It's very smooth. You can easily filter out your picks that you want. They have this thing called Game Time Picks. It helps fluff out a lot of the just outrageous prices to then show you their sponsored deals, basically. And it's great. It's fantastic. I've used their filter many times to get the seats exactly the way that I want them. They have super deals where they have like the very hot priced tickets where people are just flocking to them and things of that nature. Really love their app. Shows you exactly where you are going to be sitting at. Up price ticketing. All the prices are up front. And they have deals right now for like everything. Cincinnati Open right now, sitting at $95 for tomorrow. That's right, Jacob. $8 tickets for the Royal Series. They have ticket prices for Bengals games right now. Tomorrow at Hard Rock, Gabriel Iglesias is in town.
What?
Ooh, I like that. Might go to that.
The Hard Rock concerts are insane.
They're very good.
They're way too good. It doesn't make sense.
I still don't know where the outside venue is.
I think they put it up.
Put it up?
Like, I think they just put it up for the concerts.
Oh, really? They just, okay.
Maybe you guys would be interested in this one. Bluey's Big Play
I love Bluey.
at Procter & Gamble Hall Aronoff Center. $67 to get into that one. Yeah. And
What is that?
Bluey.
Bluey.
Bluey is the children's cartoon?
Yeah, that's correct.
Bluey's Big Play.
Now, if it was Bluey on Ice, I'd be there in a
Casey,
second.
do you want to go to Bluey on Ice?
Put
Casey,
anything on
do you want to
ice.
go to Bluey's Big Play with me?
Tickets are sitting at $67 to get in. You ready for it?
I guess at that price I have to.
Yeah. Well, if you create an account and use code OTB, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button. Share this show with a friend. Helps us grow. Helps us create this great community that we have with all of you. And we like to share with more of you. So, yeah. Hit the like button. Share. Helps us grow.
Do terms apply?
No. Terms do not apply.
Like the stream. Like the stream.
Like the stream. If you haven't done so already, check out our memberships. We got $10 membership gets you all the video access that we have, and then $25 will get you the discounted merch code, and you can use that for any of our merchandise at our store. So
Do we have a members video coming out this week?
We do. Thanks for asking. Tomorrow, we did a PK shootout, soccer video. Very, very funny.
You're going to see why I hate soccer.
And you're going to see
Because
why
I can't play
I am the greatest of all time.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
I can't wait. Can't wait. I hope it's not flat.
What's not? Oh, well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I hope the soccer ball's inflated in the right size.
Can't get them all. What is that? What is that in Ohio? What's that on your hat there? Is that a chicken up there?
This is the Moeller Blue Barn. My gosh, Moeller Brew Barn. I can't talk today.
Had a little
What the
too
hell?
many brews at
Did
the
I
barn.
just?
Brew-
I'm
way
hungover.
too many brews at that barn.
I don't know. I just.
Slurring your words.
I'm still trying to figure out yesterday that imaginary clip I sent to Casey.
That's still so funny.
Remember yesterday I sent Casey. I was like, Casey, with the clip. There was no clip.
That
And I can't
clip
find it
doesn't
anywhere.
exist.
It doesn't exist. I
does
can't
not
find it
exist.
anywhere. It's
Wait,
not.
what clip?
So when he sent it over to Casey yesterday for
Yes,
Lewis
this
Riddick
is scary
clip,
stuff.
Chase, all three of us have been trying to find a clip of Lewis Riddick talking
Doesn't
about Jamar
exist.
Chase. It doesn't exist.
I can't find it.
He dreamed,
I remember
dreamed it.
sending it. I was like,
That's actually the funniest thing I've ever heard.
So I was like, how drunk was I? Because I don't know if I just imagined that I sent an imaginary clip. I have no clue what happened.
Well, because usually you email us. I didn't get an email, and
Yeah.
then I don't know. Like, you didn't DM him anything?
So no, I thought I did.
No, the actual clip does not exist.
Did he was he on the show?
There is no Lewis Riddick clip talking about Jamar Chase.
So yesterday, I thought. Hold on. So I have
That's
on
crazy.
Twitter on bookmarks, like for tomorrow's show. If any sports related talking points I get, I'll put in the bookmark for tomorrow's show to use or whatever. So I swore I sent Casey this clip of Louis Riddick talking about why it was good of Jamar Chase to be holding out now and that he should hold out for the season if he doesn't get what he wants. And I was like, oh, damn, that's a very aggressive take. I visually remember sending it to Casey, but I always like it put in the folder. Not only is it nowhere to be found in any of my folders, it's not in my likes. I type it in. It never was sent to Casey. But then I was crazy enough to set Casey up. I tried setting Casey up for the imaginary segment. It didn't exist. I have no clue what happened.
You not sending it to him and thinking you sent it to him, that's ha ha ha, very funny. We'll move on. It happens.
Yeah.
The clip not existing, I cannot.
Yeah, that's the part.
I can't even wrap my head around it.
Was he on the show? Do we know if he was on the show?
He was.
Well, he
so I thought it
hosts
was
the
from
show.
Get Up. I
Okay.
thought he was on
He's
Get
on
Up.
NFL Live and Get Up a lot.
Okay.
So, yeah.
There's no clip about him talking about
So I think I
that.
got drunk the night before,
That's
dreamt
cool.
that I sent Casey this clip, and then just thought it was real. Good times. Good times. I need a couple day break.
What's his name?
What's whose name?
Your name.
Yours.
What's my name?
Yeah, Wingo doesn't know.
Oh, what's his name? I am officially what's his name in Wingo's phone now.
That's really funny, too.
That's very, very good.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I imagine that conversation too.
Yeah,
I need to go
maybe.
back, but
You might be a crazy person. Super chat real quick. Justin Edgel, $4.99. He says the Reds should hire the best manager in the business, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Don't know who that is. I don't get the reference.
Wait, what
I
did
would
he say?
imagine it's a reference.
So he says the Reds should hire the best manager in the business. I mean, Bobby the Brain Heenan is a wrestling. He's like a manager in wrestling. Like he walks the guys to
then
the
that
ring,
makes sense.
but has personality. He has
Is he a
flair.
good manager?
I don't know if he can manage baseball,
in
but
wrestling-
technically
was he
we don't
good?
know if David Bell can either. So I mean,
true.
like it's just whoa, what?
No, I was just laughing. I was just laughing.
Funny quip.
I was a funny quip. I was laughing.
Quip here, quip there.
Quip Lash, which you can
Quip
see on
Lash.
Fridays.
Hey, man.
I always get beat up in that. So
You do. So do I. And my friends. All right, let's go back to Radio World.
Oh yes.
Boo!
Nick Kirby reposted all the Chatterbox clips last night.
Welcome back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. Spent a lot of time on the Reds today. Of course, we dissected Barry Larkin's little rant that he went on the other day. We shared a clip from Chatterbox Reds. Nick Kirby kind of questioning the motives of, or questioning what motivated Barry Larkin to kind of go on that rant at that particular time, bringing up Lou Piniella, bringing up just different things of how he would handle particular scenarios. Good stuff. We appreciate everyone's interaction throughout that. And, of course, we'll keep an eye on that. Look, I don't know. He ain't going to get suspended for that. I don't think he said anything that wrong. But we are conditioned to cheerleader media now, so it was funny seeing people freak out. I can't believe he said that. I thought he said something crazy. When I went and listened to it, I'm like, I don't think it's that bad, but you do know how sensitive that front office can be as far as that's concerned.
Oh, yeah. So
who knows?
he won't be suspended. Guarantee it.
Won't. Actually, they're going to say, you know what? You're not allowed to go. You're suspended for the road series.
Well,
That's right.
Where would he go? Because where are you going to go?
That's right.
It's the age-old question. Where are you going to go?
Where are you going to go?
Where are you going to go tomorrow for your bachelor party, by the way?
Michigan. Northern Michigan. It's like 6-7 hour drive, something like that. Very excited.
Not bad.
How was that tennis last night?
It was tennis.
It was.
You were talking about the
It was
venue.
pretty fun.
You were talking about the venue before.
The venue was incredible. They've done a lot of renovations to that. I think it's Linder Family Tennis Center now.
Yep.
They've done a lot of renovations. There's new boxes on a lot of the side courts that didn't used to be there.
Really?
All the seats, I believe, if not all of them, most of the seats were torn out and replaced. New seats in the whole stadium. In center court, both of the baseline sections have air conditioners in the rows.
What?
To cool down the seats in the rows and everything if you're there all day, because obviously it's,
All gets hot up there.
and it's 11 to 7 if you're there
Yeah.
all day. So it gets hot and it's a long day. They did a really good job renovating that place. I saw Paul last night.
Really?
Saw our dear friend Quitter Paul at the tennis, and that was fun. Saw his wife as well. It's the first time I met her being introduced as his wife.
Yes.
Which was a little bit weird, caught me off guard.
Yeah.
But loved seeing him. It was a lot of fun. Got to see the American sensation Francis Tiafoe in the first match. against the bronze medalist.
How did Tiafoe do?
Which was cool. He won going away. It was 6-3 in the first set, but it was back and forth, tied 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, and then he pulled away, and then he won the second one, I think, like 6-2 or something, 6-3
There we
maybe.
go.
He pulled away. He won, and then we got to see Medvedev at the end, which is always cool to see some of those big name guys.
Big.
He blew it, though. He lost. So.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, pretty surprising. It was a lot of fun, though. It was super cool.
Casey, does it bother you that they'll talk so respectfully about tennis, but they just continue to dunk on your favorite sport, soccer?
That's right. The main takeaway from that is Casey likes soccer more than football.
Casey's favorite sport is
Favorite
soccer.
Second
sport.
favorite sport. I don't know
Favorite
what your
sport,
favorite
favorite
sport
team,
is.
favorite
But your
player.
beloved sport, soccer, does it bother you that he will sit up in the chair, he'll lean into the mic, and he'll be so complimentary of the sport of
I
tennis?
love tennis.
Love tennis.
But soccer, that's where we draw the line.
You know, I try my best, and I've just been beaten down so much, Kenner, that it just doesn't even faze me anymore.
You
right?
miss
I
Jimmy
just-
so much.
I really do miss Jimmy a lot, man. He'd have my back here on this one, but it's what am I gonna do? These guys have already made up their minds on soccer. I gotta try to convince other people that haven't made up their minds yet. So
Those
I'm
people
not gonna waste
exist.
my time on trying to convince those two anymore.
But Jacob's one of those, he's very open-minded, and you know how many times I've heard him say, I've never
He's
thought
not
of it like that.
open-minded.
You know what? I agree.
That's right. Yeah, that's
He's
what
a-
everyone always says about me is my opinions are very malleable.
Yeah.
I can hear the other side and just change my thoughts right away. So yeah, that's what I'm known for.
It's what you bring to the table, and we appreciate
if,
it.
That's
if,
right.
If Cincinnati gets a Premier League team, I'll buy into soccer.
Agreed. I'm with Elliot. Agreed. If Cincinnati gets
What-
2 Premier League players,
What if the men's
Yeah.
team
I'll
was
start
good?
watching the games.
What if the men's team was good? They competed for gold. Would you buy into soccer then?
Gold? No. World Cup? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Who
Olympic soccer's a
who-
scam.
Who won the Olympic soccer golds this year?
That I have no clue.
It's a soccer fan,
And that's soccer.
and that's soccer.
I could care less about following the other teams. I only care about the teams that I like. It's kind of the same thing with baseball.
Yeah,
I
but
just
wouldn't
don't
you
care
like
about
the USA? Did USA women's not win gold?
Yes, they did.
Oh, they
You,
did.
you didn't ask about. You
Yeah, I
didn't
did.
ask the women's. You
Yeah, I
said
did.
the men's.
No, I
Well,
said
you
women's.
assumed men's. He just asked who won the gold medal.
Gold medals. I said
Spain, according to Mascot.
good for Spain.
Reed's team.
I actually like the soccer in Spain.
They have like a 15-year-old, don't they?
I don't know about
I
that.
think they do.
That would be pretty cool. Having a little guy,
A little pipsqueak.
a little pipsqueak. Go kick. Go.
Do the sports talk stations here in town, do they embrace soccer? Do they talk soccer?
Yeah,
I mean,
but I think that's because
it's on the station.
It's on their stations.
If it's not on the station, they don't talk about it, right? So
I think some of them would. I think some of them would just because it's try to
Mo does a good. Mo likes. I think Mo genuinely likes soccer. I could be
you
wrong.
try to engage with the fans and you try to get because like Mouse Cop says, and to be fair, you don't want to kill local teams. So yeah, to talk about soccer, good for them. But I don't
Only
know.
3 weeks away from football.
Yeah.
real football,
Let's talk
Not
about sports.
football.
Let's talk about sports. That
not
matter.
football. Hey, by the way, we were talking earlier about, what does a manager do in baseball? How about basketball, real quick? How about that? I just scrolled through this, Jacob. You'll get a kick out of this. Pat Bev says that Darvin Ham admitted that the Lakers should have been practicing more, and apologized for relying too much on talent to win. And people were pissed that the Lakers moved on from Darvin Ham.
Okay. Yeah, Darvin Ham, I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Very nice.
He doesn't really know how to do the coaching part of coaching basketball.
No.
So the amount of times I'm very, upfront about what my NBA fandom is, and it's wherever Mike Sweet King, LeBron James puts on that jersey.
Your sweet king.
That's right.
Is that how he always refers to him?
Yeah.
His sweet king?
Yeah,
Not
he's
sweet prince.
Captain America, my sweet, not Prince. Come on, he hasn't been a prince in a long time.
He says Father James, and
That's right. Me and Bronny call him Dad.
Daddy James.
Yeah. Well,
Do you? You call him
Papa.
Dad? Okay.
Yeah. When Papa puts on that purple and gold, goes out there for year 22 this year. Yeah, I mean, I root for the Lakers, and every time I watch Darvin Ham coach the team, I feel like I would do a better job. Just simply call a timeout when your team's on a 0-20 run. But he didn't like to do that.
No.
So he said they'd play out of it. Personally, I disagreed with a lot of stuff he did. He started Taurean Prince for 22 games, which is preposterous.
Silly.
So yeah,
Speaking of princes, right there. That's a prince.
That is a prince. That is a prince.
So, Other news, real quick. The Reds, the updated MLB Top 100 the MLB Pipeline Top 100 was updated. How many Reds players do you think popped up in this thing?
3.
2.
Okay, so you got a number you want to throw out?
I'm going to go with 2 as well.
2, 2, and 3. Let's go with 4.
Wow. Who's the fourth?
4 players pop up in the top
Chase
100.
Burns, Red Lauder, Edwin.
So those are the highest 2.
Edwin's 1.
Sal Stewart.
Sal Stewart.
Yeah.
Where'd he come in at?
Sal Stewart comes in at number 85.
Wow, good for him.
Edwin Arroyo comes in at number 72, and then they have 2 in the top 30. With
Chase
where
Burns
did
top
he go?
25, I believe.
Chase Burns comes in at number 24. So they have 2 in the top 25 technically.
When will we see him? Let's go through all 4.
How competitive are we next year?
We're fighting for a wild card again.
We see Chase Burns.
That's it?
Yes.
Where does he start? Will he get a invite?
He'll be. I think all 4 of those guys will be in Major League Camp.
So he starts where? Louisville? Dayton?
No, he'll start at Dayton. If they started Lauder at Dayton, they'll start Chase Burns at Dayton.
Yeah.
He might only pitch 2 games there.
In front of a nightly sold-out crowd.
That's right,
Fifth
and about
Third
half
Field.
the stadium blocked off.
Yeah.
No longer
I haven't been to a
Fifth.
Dayton
It's
Dragons
Day
game
Air
in a long
Ballpark.
time.
My bad. What?
I haven't been to a Dayton Dragons game in a long time.
I've heard they're fun. I've never been.
I've heard they're fun as well.
They have the Moeller Brew Barn. Free ads. My apologies.
We're gonna have
across.
to. Is it Mo Eller?
It's Moeller.
Yeah, okay.
I always say Moeller because there was one time we went to another place and the guy was like trying to talk to us. Oh, I love Moeller. I go all the time. And I'm like, it's not Moeller. It's Moeller. But that's fine. So now I just call it Moeller.
That's funny.
So, yeah, great bet. But, yeah, so Jackson Holiday with the Orioles, number 1 prospect as far as that's concerned. How many did the Reds have last year when this thing updated? Like after the draft and once they kind of got – and it's okay if you don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't know off the top of my head. But
Is 4 a low number?
No, 4's not low. That'll be top,
I don't know.
10 farms, maybe, fringe.
Fringe, probably.
It'll be close to a top 10 farm.
Yeah, I know. Chase Burns, again, the top pitcher in this most recent MLB draft. Of course, that's who the Reds took with their number 2 overall pick. He comes in at number 24, starting out in rookie ball, of course. So we'll see what ends up happening as far as where he starts next season. But so you do think he will pitch for the Reds at some point next year?
I do. I think if the Reds are competitive, we'll see Chase Burns next year and possibly Lauder as well. I have Chase Burns a little bit ahead of Lauder in just the timeline, but maybe that's off. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But Lauder's been turning it on in AA. He's had, I think 3 straight incredible starts. So he struggled to start his career a little bit when he got to Chattanooga, and he's really buckled it down since then. So I really have no worries about anyone on that list. Sal Stewart's been a phenomenal surprise. Not that I didn't expect him to be good, but to be a top 100 prospect this early in his career is great. He's putting up phenomenal numbers, and everyone, I think, should be high on Edwin Arroyo. We'll see what happens when he comes back from surgery, but he was a very promising defender especially, and was coming around as a hitter last year. So it's a shame that a player that young is going to miss an entire year of development, but you really hope he can just pick up where he left off. I have a lot of faith in all those guys.
I'd imagine he's going to be on the team next year as well.
I'm really pulling
at some point.
It is so tough. The Reds have struggled for so long to find more than 1 to 2 quality pitchers. They might have a homegrown full rotation in the next year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are also forgetting about Brandon Williamson and how good he was last year. When he came up, he was phenomenal. So I think he's going to be in that rotation as well for the Reds. And then you got Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Brandon Williamson, Red Lauder, Chase Burns. Doesn't get much better than those 5.
Wait, so who are your 5?
I said Hunter Green,
Nick Lodolo,
Chase Burns, Red Lauder, Brandon Williamson.
Is Andrew Abbott a trade piece in the offseason?
I wanted to trade him at this deadline. So
I saw a tweet that went around the internet a little bit. It's their stats that I don't understand really. It's FIP, and then there was a couple other letters that threw in there. He was really bad in a lot of the advanced pitching stuff, but somehow really good in like his ERA. So it's like it's an anomaly meme? Essentially, is what I was being told. Huh?
Have you seen the TJ Friedel meme? Your underlying metrics are terrible, and he just says pull balls, go Burr.
Yeah,
that's Andrew Abbott.
Okay.
He's like, oh, I allowed the most home runs in the league, and everyone hits me. Well, here's 2 runs in 6 innings with 4 strikeouts.
That's fair.
It doesn't really make sense.
I'll be curious to see where Graham Ashcraft goes if he gets traded. I'll be curious to see if Andrew Abbott gets traded because they do have pitching depth. So it's the one positive the Reds have going for them.
And I'm not saying Andrew Abbott's a bad player. I think Andrew Abbott's a good pitcher. I just think we have 5 guys who are better.
But he's the perfect candidate because a lot of teams, especially when you're looking to make a trade in the offseason, you have some complete rebuilding teams that want nothing but prospects, and then you have those tweener teams. The Reds always seem to be in that category where, well, we want a guy that can come in and help right away. And I think that he is a candidate for that if he helps bolster a trade. It just depends what the Reds are looking for in return. Do they go after a big name in the offseason? Is he going to be attached to that trade with some prospects? Probably, if that's the case. I don't even know if I'm comfortable advocating for them to move on from him, but I don't think if you keep him, you're fine. If you move on from him, you're fine. The depth.
I don't
is
necessarily
the strength of the Reds
care
system.
one way or the other. It's just how much you want to gamble on these guys being ready to go pretty soon.
Yeah.
Is the determination on whether you move Andrew Abbott. I also don't think we're necessarily talking about this upcoming season. I think we might be talking about, 2026, 2027.
Maybe next deadline?
Moving him. Maybe next deadline, maybe the deadline after that, if we're being a little bit more realistic. You want to see these guys establish themselves in the majors and prove that they can do it at a consistent level before you move on from a guy that has already done that. And Andrew Abbott, at least for the first, 2/3 of the season, he's proven that he's been able to be dominant. So,
What about Chase Petty, Connor Phillips?
Those two were the big ones. A year ago at this time, we were big on them, right?
Huh?
We were big on those two a year ago at this time, right?
Connor Phillips has forgotten how to pitch.
Is he still bad wherever?
I don't
That's
know
what's
that you
scary
can-
about
I have not been
prospects.
able to find his statistics because he's no longer playing in organized baseball. So there's no box scores for. Maybe there is. Kirby finds them.
Kirby finds him.
But that's what always worries me about prospects, moving on from guys that have proven that they're playing well. Like you want to talk about Andrew Abbott. Move on from them because look at the weapons they have in the system, which I agree with, and you have to hit on those guys. But a year ago at this time, we were talking about Petty and talking about
100%.
So it's like always, but that's the gamble, as you talked about. How confident are you in those around them? Chase Burns, we have no clue. We know what the expectations are. You took him with your first pick, the number 2 overall pick. That'll be exciting for him. But, man, one of those guys turns into a premier guy. I mean, now you have Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo. I mean, and I'm not saying it hasn't been done, but how often is that done around baseball where you have a homegrown 5-man rotation? I don't think that's that common.
I would assume not. I mean, the Dodgers always trade for someone to
I'm
bolster
trying
their
to think
rotation.
off
But no, let's keep in mind there's a difference between having 5 guys in your rotation that you called up, but having like a set, dominant 5-man rotation. And dominant, maybe I'm putting a little bit too much mustard on that, but like you know what I mean, like to where at least of the 5 you have, all that you developed, 3 of them are legitimate 1, 2, 3 pitchers, and then have 2 really good guys in the back end. I mean, that the Reds might be onto something pretty wild and
Did
pretty
the
rare.
Tigers do that during their World
With
Series?
Verlander and all them.
Scherzer?
With Scherzer and all them
Scherzer.
homegrown?
Maybe.
Is Verlander? Was Scherzer homegrown?
Let's see.
Verlander was.
Let's see.
Phillies for the most part, but Wheeler obviously came from the Mets.
Max Scherzer. No, came from Arizona.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. I'm not sure. Definitely super rare. Definitely for a small market team, it would be a super awesome thing to have, especially with the ballpark we play in where it's very tough to get free agent pitchers to come. So,
And you have player control those guys for a while,
Exactly.
and it's like all that money could be allocated towards, a new sushi bar or, something else.
that's right. Maybe we can get that s'mores milkshake the White Sox have.
Yeah,
That'd be
please.
We should do exactly what the White Sox
that
do.
thing's worth. Like the White Sox have 29 wins right now. For their fans, if you've had 3 s'mores milkshakes, are you at 40 wins?
Yeah, 50.
Okay.
50.
The White Sox are more games back than they have wins. I saw that this
That's
morning.
a wild number.
I saw that
didn't
this
even think
morning.
I had to think about it. I'm like, what? I'm like,
It's
oh.
a tough place to be. What are they at? 29. By the way, they're have you seen their number? Their Vegas total?
No.
It's 39.
What's the record?
43 or whatever.
Wow.
So Vegas does not think they're getting it.
Yeah, they have 29. They're 29 and 93, 18 and 44 at home, 11 and 49 on the road. 37 and a half games back of the American League wild card.
By the way, 11 and 49 on the road. You're almost winless in road games. Could you imagine that? Being almost win. Like, when was the last time you won on the road? I don't know.
I mean, the Rockies are 17 and 46. That's pretty bad, too.
Yeah. Rockies are good at home. People forget about that. Reed disagreed with me on that.
Yeah, 5 games below.
Rockies are, well, yeah, but that 5 games below is much better than 45 games below.
Can't argue with those numbers.
So, that's it. But we're probably late for a break, by the way.
No, we are. Last question on this, and then we'll close out the radio side in a second. But, we talk about moving on from some of these arms. What do you do? I mean, the bullpen. How comfortable are you with the bullpen? Big picture being 2 years, 3 years, like with what we have now?
I'm very confident with the bullpen. I think we touched on it yesterday, but I'm more confident in Alexis Diaz right now than I maybe ever have been in his entire career. So I love him as the closer. I think we have one of the best in the league. I love what Nick Martinez has been able to do out of the pen as a long option, and hopefully he picks up that player option for next year.
Yep.
And he's on the team again, and I have my takes on Spiers, but I think when he's in the bullpen, he'll be a phenomenal piece there. So
Yep.
I'm really confident in a lot of the things we have going for us in the bullpen. Ian Jabot was great last year, ate a lot of innings. Obviously, he's missed this year with injury, presumably back next year. So that'll be great. I have a lot of faith in every piece of this team except for about 6 everyday players.
Yep.
Six
It's
is a lot.
Yeah, when there's only 9.
I like Spencer Steer. I like Elly De La Cruz, Jonathan India.
I put Fridel as my 3.
You put Fridel in as
Fridel,
yours.
Steer, and Elly.
I'll put Fridel at 4. Our outfield needs some work.
Yeah.
Our outfield needs a lot of work. And depending on what Jeimer Candelario, who you think he is, I don't know about that one. When you have a 280 OBP is almost unheard of. When you play as many games as he has, how do you not get lucked in to just get hit by a pitch? Like it's almost improbable how low that OBP is.
I think we looked it up yesterday, and he had 27 walks.
Yeah.
Which is a low number, and we were floored.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That he had walked that much.
Couldn't believe it.
Could not believe it.
We did a game yesterday where we compared
This is a bad game.
Jeimer to Mike Moustakas. Boy, that was tough. Mike Moustakas
Who came up losing in that one?
Mike Moustakas did big time. Mike Moustakas historically.
Somehow we thought Moustakas was better.
Yeah, I think I did.
His stats are worse than you remember.
Well, I mean, the one stat was just appearances. I mean, that was a pretty low one to begin with. But, all right, good stuff. Off the bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. We'll step away for a few moments to get into some NFL stuff. A bit of our conversation we had yesterday with Trey Wingo involving the Cincinnati Bengals. Are they the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs? Bengals having, of course, their joint practice with the Chicago Bears today in Chicago. Jamar Chase did make the trip yesterday, of course, after all the talk we had about him not participating in their previous practice earlier in the week. I don't know. It's a very weird sit-in. It's a very weird sit-out. It's a very weird. This whole thing's weird. Just sign the damn contract, offer the contract, get it over with so we can move on, right? All right, more off the bench when we come back.
In Milwaukee.
All right, and we are back. You said how many? 75 home or 75 what?
I'm rounding up. I'm rounding up. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He went 27, 22, 25.
We're talking about Mike, radio, folks. We're talking about Mike Moustakas' historically bad run. In Cincinnati.
We talk about Mike Moustakas a lot, probably a lot more than we should for how bad he was with the Reds.
Yeah.
But I somehow remembered him being better. He had 75-ish RBIs, 27, 22, 25, and then 21 home runs in his 3-year Reds career.
Here's the thing about Mike Moustakas. He tried his hardest.
Did
that's
he?
No, he didn't.
That's the thing, because if he did, I wouldn't be.
I think he
I wouldn't
put
have as much vitriol.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll
James
appreciate.
hardened it.
I think he was bad.
He did try with
I
the
think he was really
fans
bad.
a lot. I know. So the Caravan makes its stop at the Air Force Museum over in Dayton, right? And the Reds have acquired him. The Caravan makes its stop. He was being promoted for that, and his wife was due, and he went ahead and he just said, "Hey, I do have to bounce." He goes, "But the Caravan doesn't start for another half hour." He goes, "But anyone that wants not," he went and stood. He said maybe 15, 20. He stood there for an hour. He signed as many autographs as he could for people before he had to bounce. I thought that was pretty cool. But
that is cool.
That's where his legacy ended.
He was the
with
leader.
Reds.
People forget he was the leader.
He was the leader of the team.
That's right.
He hit a home run in that opening day game on that COVID season.
I thought we had the one.
There was a buzz about that season too.
100% there was.
And it sucked that it all just. That was if COVID doesn't happen. That's a big what if in Reds history. I'm not saying that's a World Series
I don't
team.
think that team makes the playoffs.
Oh, I think they do.
You do?
No, I think they do. I think the pitching.
You didn't like that?
I think the pitching rotation was finding themselves towards the.
The back half was so bad.
The back half was the good part.
No, the hitting completely tailed off like the last 25 games.
Yeah, but the pitching, I'm saying the pitching was unbelievable. I think Lorenzen carried him. Lorenzen and DeSclafani.
Well, yeah, I know the pitching was great. We didn't score a single run in the postseason.
Well, yeah, I can't help that, but I think they would have made the playoffs.
What was the weird setup for that playoff? Was it a
3-game
series?
season, and then like everyone made it.
I knew it was 60, but was it a 3-game series? What was that first round
Top
series?
4 in the division?
It was best of 3 wild card.
And David Bell did everything he could to try to miss the playoffs that year.
Yeah. I
Remember,
think
you
that
blamed
Reds
him?
team was a big benefit of the 60-game season.
Trevor Bauer agrees because he made
Cy
bank
Young?
off of it.
Cy
He
Young.
made bank off of that. Only Cy Young in Reds history, no doubt. I saw Molly. Molly, hope you're doing well. She was giving Annie Sabo a lot of love a little bit ago. I'm trying to continue to read through some of these, but nonetheless. All right. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Talk a little Bengals. I know you touched on it earlier. Yeah, Who Day. We're talking Bengals. Nice try. You almost got me. I said it, though. Damn it. Damn it.
Who Day?
Damn it. I got to go wash my mouth out with soap now. No, Jamar Chase. Yes, I did see that text that you sent of him arriving in Chicago. Even you were a little surprised that Jamar Chase showed up in Chicago.
Shocked. Yeah, I don't really understand necessarily what's going on. I guess is the way I should put it now. Are you holding out? Are you not holding out? It's the preseason. Starters that aren't holding out don't travel to away games every now and then. And he's not practicing, and he wants a new contract, and he's going.
Yeah, but when you're a part of the team, then you just go.
I think that's where I'm at now. Is he's just is a part of the team.
I don't know why. I know why you'd leave, but I don't know why you'd leave given the amount of money you're going to get a large amount of money. You know you're playing in a situation that is beneficial to you, or you could be the king of this city. I don't know why you'd leave, and I think he doesn't want to leave. I don't think he has any intentions of leaving. He's following the team. He's traveling with the team. He's present at everything. He's missed one practice, so I'm not concerned at all about Jamar Chase. I'm really not.
Don't give him too much credit, though. Don't give him too much. I wanted to tell this to Solomon Wilcots, but he scares me, so I didn't want to tell him. He was trying to make it sound like it was a leadership move to be that you get fined a lot of money if you don't show up, and you're not allowed to get that bonus back to you when you sign your extension. He has to be there. So that's why part of me is like shocked he ended up in Chicago. I want to know. I guess I just want to know, to Jacob's point too, like why skip that one day? Why? Because when he skipped that one day, the messaging changed too. Even Zach Taylor was like, well, now it's day to day. Well, I thought you had good communication with them and it was all part of the plan, and now it's day to day.
At this point, I think he just had something going on.
Yeah.
He had to run some errands.
Yeah,
he had a haircut in the middle of the day.
Yeah, we got a flight tomorrow. I got to get
dentist appointment. He couldn't get moved. I mean, I don't.
Got to get a dog sitter.
At this point, that's what I think it was.
And fair enough.
We're talking about practice.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice.
But Bengals fans confused. You guys confused me only because Bengals get out to a slow start because nobody practices because everyone's hurt, hold out of the preseason, and then Jamar Chase misses all the training camps so far, and it's no big deal. Practice. We don't need practice.
It's called moving the goalposts.
That's all I wanted to hear.
And we're really good at it.
Okay. Then we can move on. I'm done.
How do you think McPherson made so many of those kicks?
What's that?
How do you think McPherson made so many of those kicks? We just moved the goalpost for him.
The whole time.
There you go. What?
Well, I was just going to say, I just, like, this story to me, I know we have to talk about it. It's a big deal that our star wide receiver is not practicing or playing in these preseason games, yada, yada, yada. But I don't think there's really any doubt that he's not going to play this year, any doubt that he's not going to be a Bengal for the next 5 years. He's going to be here for a decent amount of time, and that's not going to change with any of this breaking news here.
Well, I don't know. Something seems weird. Something seems weird about this team. I don't know. Something seems weird.
All right, what's his name?
We talked, yeah. No, yesterday. All right, so the Bengals, obviously, look, when Joe Burrow's healthy, we know it's a Super Bowl contending team. And for them to win a Super Bowl, that means they have to get past a team that's won the last 2 Super Bowls, a team that they technically have had success against. Not technically. They have had success against this team in the past, including in the playoffs. And that's the Kansas City Chiefs. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals. Are they the biggest threat to Kansas City, 3-peating? We talked about that yesterday, of course, with Trey Wingo. Here's what he had to say. this year. No other quarterback has had as much success against the Chiefs than the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback in Joe Burrow at this point. Obviously, the Houston Texans, I just asked you about their shot at getting to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Obviously going to be a big threat, but the biggest threat to the Chiefs out of the AFC, is it still Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals?
It is if Joe's healthy. It is if Jamar Chase is playing and happy. It is if everything is right. Look, there's so many things, right? Like San Francisco has the best roster in football. I believe that. But they don't have Patrick Mahomes. They have a very good quarterback in Brock Purdy. They just don't have Patrick Mahomes. But they had to cancel a practice this summer with the Titans because they were so banged up. And as Bengal fans will know, the last thing you want to hear about a star player is a calf strain, right? And that really limited Joe when he was playing before the other injuries happened. Well, now you got a calf strain with Christian McCaffrey. And that's a much bigger issue, in my opinion, because of what the running back does with that calf as opposed to what a quarterback does with that calf. So I would always default towards San Francisco as the biggest team in the NFC or in the league to give them a shot, even though they've had a 10-point lead in 2 Super Bowls and found a way to lose them both in the fourth quarter. But I think the Bengals are right there. If I'm wrong on all this, just something's not right. It just doesn't feel cohesive at the moment.
It does not feel cohesive, folks. There's no cohesiveness in Cincinnati. Everybody panic. You guys are screwed, dude.
Well,
you guys aren't winning. 0-17.
It was just
in fact, 0-16, and there's a forfeiture in there somewhere.
0-16-1.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but a forfeiture somewhere. I mean, things are falling apart in Cincinnati. There you go.
Are you rooting for another DeMar Hamlin? Is that what that was?
Oh, God.
You said forfeiture in there. That's the only thing that's ever happened in the NFL season. Just cut a game off.
Oh, look at Casey. Hey, Casey's awake now.
Jacob,
are you pulling for?
Jacob's coming out swinging.
That's
Are you pulling for another DeMar Hamlin?
What's the only thing that's ever shaved a game off in an NFL season?
Clip it. Clip it.
Real
Kenner
good.
Kenner wants DeMar Hamlin situations.
Man.
To be clear, that's not what Kenner wants.
That's not what he was saying.
Allegedly.
Thanks for defending me, dude. Thank you.
After
the show, he'd
defending
say
you,
it.
he said
After
he
the
did
show,
it.
he'd say it.
Yeah. It does seem like we've suffered a lot. Not suffered. We've encountered a lot of distractions, maybe is a word. T. Higgins requesting a trade. Is T. Higgins going to play? You have Trey Hendrickson. He's retiring. Is he going to play? You have now Jamar Chase. He's out. Is he going to play? Last season it was Joe Burrow. Is the deal going to get done? What's Joe Burrow's situation? It seems like a lot of this has happened recently, and I don't know if Cincinnati's been used to that when you see so many talented star players want money and expect money, and the Bengals fans are now seeing it. I think I could be wrong on this. Seemingly for the first time in a little bit, where you have so many good players that have so many different contract situations, and it's hard to navigate them all at the same time. It's not a perfect world, and I think that's where all the stress comes in. I think that's where all the something's not right comes in, just because it seems like there's been one of these every couple of months for the past couple of years now. So, and maybe that's just how all franchises operate, but it's, I think, relatively newer as of lately, especially for Cincinnati Bengals fandom.
Real quick, I don't think. No. Real quick on that too. From a national media perspective, the only things that they see, T. Higgins wants out, Hendrickson wants out, and then Jamar holding out. What they don't do is follow Jay Morrison. What they don't do is follow the James Rapines, where there's constant follow-ups on that. Even the big haters like me, who would love to take the Hendrickson thing and spin it, and the T. Higgins thing and spin it, and this hold out / hold in, whatever you want, it's a hold in, and spin it. I can't spin it. There's really nothing happening. There is cohesiveness there. That's the only thing I disagreed with him on there. But from a national media perspective, with all the teams in the NFL, they're reading the big headlines, and Hendrickson's demanding a trade is a big headline. T demanding a trade is a big headline. Jamar not getting a contract, not practicing, that's a headline. They're not combing through the local media takes to see what exactly is going on. Not defending them here, but that's just the nature of it. So when people get so fired up about that stuff, it always cracks me up. But like, we spend all of our time, the Reds, Bengals, Ohio State, like all of Bearcats, all of our teams here, they don't spend all of their time on our teams, and that's why it leads to stuff like that. Bottom line is I don't think this Jamar Chase thing is a big deal yet, but it started to seem that way 2 days ago.
Yeah, no, there was definitely a point in there where a little bit of worry started to creep in, but I've never been seriously concerned about any of the worries this offseason.
Yeah.
There was never a chance Trey Hendrickson was going to retire. There was never a chance T. Higgins wasn't going to sign his $22 million franchise tag. And there's not a chance Jamar Chase sits out this whole season. It's just not feasible options for the Bengals. My main takeaway from this whole offseason is it's a beautiful change of pace as a Cincinnati Bengals fan to have this many players that the national media cares about. We've never had this many players that would even drum up national media stories. And now we have 5 or 6. That's incredible.
Yep.
That's wonderful. I mean, Amarius Mims, our first-round rookie, goes down, and everyone's talking about it like it's the end of the Bengals' offensive line. On ESPN and on CBS and all the major sports shows, they're saying, oh, they lose their key left tackle or right tackle.
The guy that wasn't even expected to start.
And since when were national media organizations worried about Bengals' backup injuries?
Yeah.
That's not a thing that's ever happened in my life. And now we're, the pulse of the league is involved with Cincinnati. Like, we're right on that road to the Super Bowl. You have to go through Cincinnati one way or the other, and that's a great thing to see. And with all of these things, well, in the AFC, even if the Bengals don't make the playoffs, beating the Bengals in the AFC North is something that whoever wins that division is going to have to do. So they're a team that plays a major role in the competition in the NFL every single year, and I think it's just great to see that all of these bubble ups, all of these worries, all of this nonsense going on in the offseason has pretty much gone away.
Yep.
Now that we're into the preseason and going into the regular season. Obviously, you'd like to see Jamar Chase out there at some point this preseason, but I'm not going to freak out one way or the other.
Nope.
Is in Game Day on YouTube says, shouldn't that be the national media's job to dig and find the truth? I mean, Game Day, the bottom line is I don't think national media is telling lies. I don't know. I mean, those guys did ask for trades. Those guys, T. Higgins did ask for a trade. Hendrickson did ask for a trade. Jamar Chase is holding out. They're reacting to those things. I don't think that they're saying anything that's not true. And yesterday he just said he felt like something's not right in Cincinnati. So there's one of two things. Either people that are further out could see things clear, and maybe we're too close, or we know more than they do because we follow every little detail of the team. But that's what the fun part is. That's why everyone dunks on national media. That's why Mina Kimes argues with everyone. That's why Drew Garrison and Mina Kimes got into a big old battle on Twitter, which was awesome, right? It happens. But I know we only have a little bit of time left on radio. The biggest threat to the Chiefs to winning their third straight Super Bowl, I know that, so you heard the clip from Trey Wingo. He said overall, the Niners are the most talented team, the most equipped. Now they're having a camp from hell. I mean, that camp, they couldn't even finish practice earlier in the week. It's a disaster. But when healthy, that team fully equipped is probably the biggest threat to them three-peating. But out of the AFC and big picture, who is the biggest threat to the Chiefs three-peating as Super Bowl champions?
Look, I'm going first. I'll take the easy answer. I want to say the Bengals. And I think, as we're a Cincinnati sports show, we're all Bengals fans. I think you might just be thinking we're just saying that. But who's the only guy that's consistently beaten Mahomes? I mean, I understand that he's only done it once in the playoffs, and that is, what it is. And he's 1-1 in the playoffs when it matters most. But at some point, you got to look at everything else, too, because no one else has beaten him ever.
Yep.
So when one guy has, if Tom Brady was in the league, I'll say whatever team Tom Brady's playing on. But since he's not, I'm going to pick Joe Burrow and I'm going to pick the Bengals. And I would even go a step, further than what Trey Wingo said, where he required the, Jamar Chase to be happy and everyone to be healthy. I still think the Bengals are the biggest threat if they have a couple injuries or some disgruntled employees. I think you walk T. Higgins out there and Jermaine Burton and Andre Yoshivas and this new backfield with the new O-line and Joe Burrow, even if Jamar Chase does somehow hold out, I still think the Bengals are up there in the AFC. I don't know. Maybe that is where bias comes in, but I've seen the Ravens make the playoffs and completely disappear in the playoffs. I have no faith in that offense putting up more than 10 points in the playoffs. We just haven't seen it before. So I'm going to pick the Bengals, and I think the margin amongst AFC teams when it comes to competing with the Chiefs is pretty wide just because of the firepower that the Bengals have. I think there's a lot of great defenses in the AFC, the Browns being one of them. But I just worry that with those teams, if the Chiefs do get out to, a 21-3 lead like we saw in the AFC Championship game the first time, I don't think a lot of those teams can come back. So I think the firepower on offense is crucial to competing with the Chiefs, and that's why I give the Bengals the edge.
My answer is the same as Jacob's. It's the Bengals, and it's because the reasons that he said, and we are the team that beats the Chiefs. I know regular season is say whatever you want about the regular season, but we have been in every single game against the Chiefs. Last year, when our season was on the line, and we had a backup quarterback, and it seemed like everybody was getting hurt, and it was a disaster. The Bengals were in that game for, 3.5 quarters before the wheels fell off. I think the Bengals, as of right now, are the team to beat in the AFC. I truly do believe that. The 49ers, we can keep here, and we can say that they have the best roster on paper until the sun burns out. But until they win a Super Bowl, until Shanahan closes a deal, I'm not going to say that they're the biggest threat in the NFL.
No, Casey, I'll let you close it out.
Besides the Bengals, and this answer is going to suck, but it's themselves. If they continue to just beat themselves up, get into trouble, and get hurt, then they're not going to be able to make it. But they've had some really good luck injury-wise. They've had some fortunate breaks go their way, and I think they're honestly the team to beat. Kansas City is the team to beat. The only other team in the AFC is certainly the Bengals. I think there might be one or two teams in the NFC I like the 49ers' chances. I know we just talked about Atlanta. I think that defense, if they get Simmons, man, that defense has the chance to be really something special.
I thought you were against Atlanta. I thought you
No, certainly
right?
not.
Didn't wasn't he
–
anti-Atlanta?
Always.
No, never.
Worst team in the league? I thought that's what.
But he liked Desmond Ridder.
I love Desmond Ridder, just not as a NFL quarterback. Yeah, there's just not very many teams in the NFL that can go toe-to-toe with Kansas City. You look at what Kansas City is really good at. They have really good defense. They have a solid run defense. They have – I don't know what that pass defense is going to look like with Snead being gone now. That's why I kind of look at teams like Houston. Maybe they can have enough firepower to get over the top, or maybe a team like Miami. But I don't trust Miami. I don't trust Tua, especially in the winter. We'll wait and see about Houston. I don't know if the rest of the roster is capable enough to keep up with them. And then, like, the NFC, like, teams like Dallas, I just don't trust Dak. I don't trust the team in the playoffs. I don't trust Philadelphia right now. They've basically imploded late in the season. Like, these teams that have really good rosters have all had some major flaws in the past. And right now, it only seems like Cincinnati and San Francisco are the only teams that have truly competed with Kansas City toe-to-toe. So those are my answers.
Yeah. Cincinnati's the safe one because, well, visually, I'm a visual person. I've seen it. I've seen them do it. I also see their roster, and I think that the Bengals roster is not as equipped as some of the other better teams, and not better rosters in the league. But you talked about it. They played them tight last year with the backup quarterback. There's just something about that Bengals-Chiefs matchup that always it delivers every time, right? It always comes down to final possession. It's a one-possession result every time. The Bengals, again, until you start to see the Chiefs start to pile on some wins against the Bengals, right now, that's been the most consistent team against them. For me, I'm going to roll with the Houston Texans. I think that the Houston Texans, I know you said the rest of the roster, I just don't think it's a roster that is, I think that offensively, I think better than the Bengals. But I do like Joe Burrow better than C.J. Stroud as of right now. So you're going to trust Burrow because you've seen it. But three-headed monster at wide receiver, great tight. They have two very good tight ends. Their offensive line's bulked up. They improved their run game. They add Hunter to a pass game, or to their defensive line, of course, to disrupt the pass game. They have all the tools that they need to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But until I see C.J. Stroud do it, I can't sit there and say that they were 1,000,000% better than the Bengals as far as having a chance at doing it. And then, other teams like the Browns defense, they're the best equipped in that league to handle a Chiefs offense. But when you're getting bad Deshaun quarterback play, they don't have a shot as far as that's concerned. So, all right, that wraps it up on the radio side. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Where are we with the Jets? Healthy Aaron Rodgers.
I'm very high.
You got Garrett Wilson. I know they're dealing with the what's the defensive guy that they're dealing with?
Hassan Reddick.
Hassan Reddick. No Hassan Reddick. Where do they stack up in the depth?
So,
of the AFC?
interesting nugget about Hassan Reddick. If he holds out this year with the Jets, he'll be fined the entire season. Every game he misses, every practice he misses. It'll cut into his contracts immensely.
Yep.
And then the Jets will still have his rights for next season. So it wouldn't do anything other than cost him millions of dollars. So I fully expect Hassan Reddick to play, even though I don't necessarily think that moves the needle that much. It's certainly a good edge rusher piece for that defense, which is already top 10 in the league. I'm very high on the Jets. I think they're going to win the AFC East. I think they're going to be the 4th seed in the AFC. I'll put it that way. I think they're going to win the AFC East. I think they're very good. I think the Bills lost a lot on defense, and I think what the Dolphins have lost on defense is going unnoticed. They lost Xavier Howard, who obviously has fallen off a little bit as he's gotten older, but pretty good corner. And he's been there for about a decade. So it's going to take a lot to replace that. And then Christian Wilkins is an all-pro level interior D lineman, and we know how hard those are to come by, and they just let him walk. So you have your 2 best edge rushers coming off torn ACLs. I'm not super high on the Dolphins. I think the Bills just lost too much on defense because of that Von Miller contract eating into their salary cap. So I'm picking the Jets to win the AFC East, and that is completely contingent on Aaron Rodgers staying healthy. I still think he has some in the tank. I think he'll be a top 15, maybe at the worst top 20 quarterback in the league, which I think is all the Jets need to be a playoff team.
I love Aaron Rodgers. Any quarterback that the more he succeeds, the more it pisses off national media. I love it. I mean, he'll throw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and Colin will open up, but his family don't like him. So who gives? Like, it's wild shit every single time when it comes to him with that. So I'm Team Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not Team Aaron Rodgers, but I do think the Jets win that division pretty easily. Just the rest of the teams, I don't trust Miami. Miami has a great roster. I just don't trust them down the stretch, and especially some of those defensive players coming off major injuries. You just don't know what that's going to look like anymore. Their offense is always going to be great the first half of the season. You go to Miami, and it's just hard to play there in September. I love Aaron Rodgers as a player on the field, but the leadership right now in that roster right now just feels like it's really, really shaky. Love Breece Hall. Love Garrett Wilson. Mike Williams. I totally forgot about Mike Williams being on the roster. I like Conklin. Their offensive line's been kind of revamped. It depends on how you feel about Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, but I like those 2 guys if they can stay healthy. And their defense has always been superb, even without Hassan Reddick. So I like the chances for the Jets this season. I just don't know if they can get past like winning their division. It just feels like they have so much going on right now, so many headaches right now. Like the division is just easy to win, in my opinion.
I think if they win that division, it's a successful season.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's probably the bar for them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think the Bills are in charge of that division anymore.
No.
I think the Bills window. You talk about the Bengals window, Joe Burrow's window his entire career. You talk about the Bills window. I think their window is closing.
I think it's not. It's like when you tell me you have a not generational. He is not generational. Anytime you have a franchise quarterback, the door's never shut, but it's cracked right now.
Yep.
And the Bengals, it's wide open right now, right? But you fear maximizing this. That's why, when you talk about with T. Higgins, going all in, we're bringing him back, we're not trading him, right? I know Tom talked about this earlier in the week about. Don't tell me that they're all in when they still have $20 million of cap left to spend, and you're going into the season not spending that. I get why people say that, but that door, there's people like Tom that are like, you got to be aggressive and take advantage of it because that door may never be shut. I know Burrow said that the door will always be open, but being cracked isn't that much better than being shut because it's very hard to open that thing again. It's gonna be hard for the Bills to open that unless they just hit on a lot of draft pieces because now that quarterback money is eating that cap, no doubt. What, Casey?
I'm looking at the Bills depth chart. DeMar Hamlin's starting at safety.
Good for him.
You guys know I love DeMar.
Good for him.
You
Good
do.
for him. But that just shows you how depleted that their defense has been, to be honest. What? I missed it. I was in the middle of saying something, but it just shows you how depleted their defense is, to be honest with you. That secondary, it's unrecognizable.
Yeah, I mean, they gutted a defense, which Josh Allen's been unbelievable since he came into the league. He's the one that carries that team. I'm not suggesting anything different. That defense has played a major role in their success. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde at safety have been phenomenal. Tre'Davious White at corner has been phenomenal. I mean, they had Tremaine Edmonds until last year at linebacker who was great. You started to see it last year. Their defense start to tail off a little bit, losing those linebackers. As soon as Matt Milano got hurt, they had no leadership in that defense anymore. So I'm really worried about them at least early in the year. I think they have enough pieces that they're going to be fine. I just think it's going to take a lot more to win that division than what they have.
I think 3 teams will still make the playoffs from that division.
What?
From that division?
The AFC East?
So you think one team from the AFC North is making the playoffs? You just took 2 wild card spots.
Isn't there 3?
So you think they're having more teams in the AFC East than the AFC North make the playoffs?
Yeah. I'll stand by that.
Who? Bills, Dolphins, Jets?
Yeah. Bills, Dolphins,
Wow.
Jets. And then I think the Bengals.
You
and
make
the
some serious money if you bet
and
on the Bills and Jets to make the playoffs.
And then the Bengals and the Ravens are the AFC North teams.
Wow, that would be a shocker.
We're out of time for today, but tomorrow, this just came out about an hour ago, Major League Baseball reportedly weighing a 6-inning requirement for starting pitchers, how mandatory outings could work. Now, I haven't read this. I don't know if this means you have to stay out there for 6 innings or is it 6 innings max. I haven't read this
They would
article.
kill
This
somebody.
is from CBS Sports.
Yeah, that's not going to be able to be enforced, I don't believe.
What happens if you have a bad 1, 2, 3 innings and you're at 70 pitches?
Now, again, this isn't a take. This is saying MLB reportedly weighing a 6-inning requirement for starting pitchers. I have not read this article. It just caught my, and this is a real article, right?
No,
you know how I see
I believe
imaginary
you.
stuff, right? But it's me and you and Casey tomorrow, so we'll weigh in on this tomorrow. But I want to look into this because that's some wild stuff. It makes some interesting games, though. It's like, I mean, we're gonna be talking,
That's
games in the
crazy.
20s. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, just a pitcher who got shelled in the first inning, 50 pitches, 8 runs. Nope, sorry, you're going back out.
I can't feel my fingers. Well, it's only inning 2, dude. You better nut up, man. I'm just saying, like, now your back's going to hurt. You just pulled landscaping duty. So, all right, cool. We'll look at that for tomorrow. Jacob, enjoy your weekend.
Appreciate
you. Until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.